The story begins with the fact that when a person turns 15 years old, they are given magical power during the so-called ceremony of the rite of suitability. When the priest conducts the assessment, a source of magic awakens in them, and they finally find out what kind of magical affinity they have. Alto, this dark-haired boy, sits in a luxurious ceremonial hall and waits for his turn. Then Lily, a blonde and childhood friend of Alto, reminds him that at the ceremony, they also find out the type of magic and how many spells each can cast simultaneously. Alto nods in response. The point is, if the ceremony goes well, even a commoner can gain the status of a nobleman, and that is really a big deal. Lily adds, Alto's father rose from a commoner to a marquis thanks to his magical talent, so the pressure on him is real. Alto says as if their whole life is decided today. Honestly, it's a bit scary when he thinks about it. Lily pales and says she heard that finding a job is really hard if a person turns out to have low abilities. Looking at the clock, Lily tells Alto, it's time to go. They walk together through what looks like rain. Lily wonders, why is Alto wearing the same clothes again, even on such a day seriously? Alto says that choosing clothes is a hassle for him. Lily replies that they have been friends since childhood, so she should already know what he is like, but adds that she also only has the same things. She still insists that he could at least dress up today, reminding him that this is really a ceremony that happens only once in a lifetime. But Alto insists, clothes worn only once are an unprofitable purchase, classic Alto logic. Lily shouted back that he is too fixated on price and quality, and reminded him that when a girl dresses up, he should at least compliment her. Alto doubts whether she will really be happy when complimented on her clothes. Lily replies that usually people are happy with such a compliment. She says that even when he is not interested, one word from him can make someone happy, and by his standards, she would call that quite profitable. Alto freezes for a moment, then he says, she said it's beautiful. Lily is impressed and happy, and Alto admits that Lily was right. But then Lily reacts too theatrically, with spiral eyes and exaggerated admiration. Alto froze awkwardly, realizing that this was not at all what he had imagined, while Lily continued to overdramatize, making him more and more uncomfortable. Lily notices that Alto seems to have relaxed a bit, and someone nearby notes that this usually unshakable person looked surprisingly nervous. They were walking, and in the distance, a majestic temple appeared. Lily pointed out that she sees it. There is the church. The ceremony is taking place right here. In the church, the priest loudly announces, now they will be. Let the ability verification ceremony begin. He calls John to step forward. The priest performs the ritual of assessing magical abilities, firmly holding a glowing orb as power bursts around him. The results come back showing only 2 magical circles, which is the lowest level. The thing is, for professions like knights and adventurers who fight while holding barriers, although they sound cool, it's effectively a death sentence. Here's how it works. If there are 4 contours, you can simultaneously use 1 barrier and 3 attacks. But if there are only 2 contours, there's barely enough for 1 barrier and 1 attack. The difference is huge. The priest continued reading John's results and announced, Water and Ice Magic Rank. Next comes the Growth Potential Rating, and here is the bitter truth. With Potential F, it takes 10,000 experience points to level up just once. As soon as 5 finished the ability testing ritual, the ceremony moved on. Next, Sasha is called, and someone snickers that with those magical circles and growth tendency, becoming an adventurer will be difficult. And now Lily is called next. She tells Alto that she is going now, and approaches the ceremony spot. Lily nervously steps forward, clasping her hands together, ascending the stairs. And she approaches the lavishly decorated chair where the priest is waiting. The priest begins to test her magical abilities. And suddenly the bearded man who was watching the ceremony froze, in complete shock. Then the priest solemnly announced the result, 7 magical circles. Alto can barely comprehend it, and Lily looks no less stunned. Someone else does not believe it. But then a growth ability rating appears, shown by a huge symbol in the shape of an X-ring. The priest continued loudly listing Lily's indicators. Barrier Magic A, Fire Magic A, Water Rice Magic A, Holy Magic S, Dark Magic A, Physical Magic A, Enhancement Magic A, Evaluation Magic A. All branches of Magicap, without exception, had a rating of O or higher. The observers simply lose their heads. Someone says that even 1 B level would make a person a powerful adventurer. Another adds that she has so much potential that she can carve her name and history alongside top adventurers and renowned knights, and they cannot believe that such a person even exists. A wunderkind among millions, the crowd erupts with admiration. Someone loudly exclaimed that perhaps a hero will be born in their generation, and others wonder what job Lily will be given. Meanwhile, some church officials argue whether to inform the king immediately or to seek a personal audience first. A man with a serious expression tells Lily that she is to have an audience with the king, while another apologizes for the suddenness and asks her to go with the priest. Lily just stands. It is clear that she is nervous and confused. Alto mentally cannot believe that such strength was hidden inside Lily. He is happy for her, but feels as if his childhood friend has gone very far away. Then the priest calls the next name Alto. Shock freezes on his face as reality crashes down on him, and he descends the stairs to the ceremonial chair. Alto approaches, and thoughts rush endlessly through his mind. He convinced himself that he did not have to be like Lily. At least give him some magical talent so that he could become a knight. The priest begins the ritual of assessing magical abilities, and the sphere glows with powerful energy. The announcement activates the magic circuits. The number appears 1. Alto's face freezes in shock. The priest announces the result, 1 magic circle. Lily asks, "Could you please repeat that?" And the priest confirms. Someone in the crowd knows. They admitted that they are hearing about such a result for the first time. Someone else instantly understands. Having only 1 turn, if Alto raises the barrier, he will be able to do nothing more. The crowd whispers with disbelief, only 1 circle. The examination continues, and Alto, stunned, drops to his knees. His full indicators are revealed before everyone. Alto sits drenched in sweat, barely able to understand what is happening. It seems completely impossible. Meanwhile, the ceremony was bustling around him, and the priest called the next participant Riene. Alto steps away from the ceremony site, completely broken, while the other tested ones walk through the hall, and the rituals continue. Alto stands alone, and the whole world presses down on him. He can no longer become a knight, let alone have adventures, and success in ordinary work is out of the question. Later, he returns home to the family estate. His father notices him instantly and demands to know when he returned, but Alto barely manages to answer before his father continues and says he heard about the assessment results. Alto's father does not hesitate. He decisively orders him to leave the house immediately. Alto freezes in shock when his father says that he is a disgrace to the Wellesley family and the heirship will go to his younger brother. And then, as if in an instant, Alto finds himself outside the estate gates cast out. Then his father delivers the final blow. He tells Alto never to call himself Wellesley again. These words hit like a physical blow. Alto stands by the mansion gates small and completely alone, while his father looms over him from inside the estate. Everything he had, everything he was, vanished in an instant. Alto walks alone down the empty street, carrying his belongings in a small bag. He has magical chains and all tendencies level F, and he thinks it's already hard to find a normal job, and now he's been kicked out of the house. Reality crashes down on him, tears roll down his cheeks, the burden of the situation becomes unbearable, and he doesn't know how to live on now. A loud, angry voice cut through the air. A bald, stocky overseer shouted at Alto, called him worthless, and demanded that he clean up. Above was visible a warehouse or construction site where Alto stood among piles of materials, and workers were scattered around. Alto instantly straightened up and quickly responded that he would get to it immediately. Alto tries to cope with each day as best he can. Meanwhile, Lily watches from afar. This newcomer just got his first job, and people are already calling him unskilled. Alto is caught looking at the shelves, trying to understand what to do with this task. The overseer growls at him, "Hurry up, there's still a ton of work." Later, Alto gloomily looks at the handful of coins he earned. He worked all day, and this is all he got. Reality is exhausting work for meager pay, where he barely survives every day. Then the workday slowly fades away. A muscular colleague tells Alto, "Good job," but adds that he's not finished yet. Alto was already planning to go to bed early tonight. But the colleague reminds him it was Alto himself who said he would work on himself. The boss stands nearby and with an understanding smile confirms that Alto really said that. Unpaid overtime relentlessly accumulates. Eventually, Alto collapses from exhaustion in the middle of the warehouse, but tries to think positively and whispers to himself that he just needs to be happy someone like him, with no skills at all, was given a job. But despite the exhaustion, Alto forces himself to get up again and continues to work persistently, lays everything in its place and cleans up, and a renewed determination shines on his face. Someone struggles with heavy logs, wheezing under their weight. Meanwhile, Alto pulls his load and thinks how much easier everything would be both in time and effort if he could use magic, imagining the logs hovering in the air and moving easily. The warehouse stretched around them, and the work did not cease. Later that night, Alto finally collapses from exhaustion. He realizes he is too tired even to reach the tavern, so he decides to spend the night in the warehouse again. The night sky hung overhead as another harsh day came to an end. Alto asks himself how much time has passed since he last reached the end. He tries to remember how many nights he has already spent in the warehouse. His stomach growls. He realizes he is hungry. The warehouse looks even emptier in the dim light as Alto pulls another shift. The next day, Alto barely slept for 2 hours. He looks at what he holds in his hand, completely exhausted and at his last strength. Suddenly, Lily approaches the counter in the warehouse and asks if there is a boy named Alto here, about her age. Alto sees her and freezes in shock. The bald manager replied to Lily, noticing what a rare and sweet visitor they had, but regretfully added that there were none like that here. Lily insists that there must be someone who knows him. She is absolutely sure of this, and begs them to allow her to meet him even for a moment. Meanwhile, Alto watches from the shadows, and his thoughts race. Lily is now the one with a promised future. In his imagination, she is in an elegant dress, surrounded by nobility and important people, and he is a failure without skills, without status, and with a low income. He does not understand why Lily would choose him when there is now a world of difference between them in status. Alto leans on the materials and feels that he can no longer even look Lily in the eyes. Behind the counter, the manager tries to brush off Lily's request, insisting that they cannot help her. Lily hesitates for a moment, then decides that she really does not want to use this, but still takes something out. Lily hands the men a piece of paper. The bald manager squints, looks closely at the paper, and asks what it is supposed to be at all. But suddenly his facial expression changes. He realizes what he is looking at, and the manager's face pales with shock. The situation turns around in an instant. Lily corrects herself. Alto, yes, that very Alto, my mistake. I will call him now. Suddenly Alto hears his name being called through the warehouse, and wonders why all this is happening so suddenly. The document turned out to be a letter of introduction from the Knight Commander. Essentially, the state itself guarantees her identity, and it turns out that Commander Lawrence's services are available only to those under 18. The bald chief urgently ordered the staff not to offend her under any circumstances. He returns to Alto and says that everything is fine, he will be back soon. Then the overseer warns Alto, don't say anything that could disgrace the guild that accepted him. She's given a special exception. They give her a meeting room and treat Lily almost like a queen, and the leader tries to present it as if Alto is showing everyone how wonderful this guild is. They try to sway the knights to their side, but Alto immediately notices the overseer's move. This guy got everything mixed up. He himself should be flattering the young lady, not dumping this whole matter on Alto. Meanwhile, the bald chief reassures Lily. Don't worry, Alto just finished work. They are just wrapping up. Leaving work on time is perfectly normal. Lily calls Alto, and he stands, sees her, and just thinks that she is standing in front of him. The leader desperately insists that she not rush, almost begging. Lily politely thanks him for his concern. They head to the conference room, and Lily asks. She asks Alto how he is doing. They haven't seen each other for a long time, notices that he doesn't look too well, and asks if everything is okay. Alto replies that he is fine, although the situation is complicated. When Lily asks what exactly Alto is working on now in this guild, Alto thinks to himself, this situation is really confusing. The shot from above shows them sitting on opposite sides of the table in the meeting room, and the distance between them is noticeably large. Then Lily, as if casually, says that she was accepted into the Academy of Royal Knights. Alto congratulates her, but his response sounds uncertain. Meanwhile, the Royal Academy of Knights is a school where future knights are trained. If someone passes the entrance exam, they can become a knight. For someone like Lily with legendary magical talent and exactly the right number of magical circles, this is quite understandable. If she had a letter of recommendation from the commander of the knights, the kingdom might even have invited her to study. Lily says she heard that next week there will be a ceremony for students transferring mid-semester, and as soon as she enrolls, she will live in the dormitory, so they probably won't see each other for some time. Alto tells her that he supports her, but hides his true feelings inside. Alto thought it was terrible, but inside something sighed with relief. After that, Lillian and he go completely different ways that will never cross again. He imagines her walking towards her bright future, leaving him behind. But Lily suddenly changes the subject. She doesn't like beating around the bush, so she simply honestly tells him that she came to Alto's house the day after the ability determination ceremony. When Lily asked the priest about Alto, he dryly replied that Alto has no skills. But when she came to the estate, the servant told her that there was no one named Alto in the house. She had heard before about Alto's father. Marquis Wellesley also broke free from common people thanks to his magical ability, and the results of the ability determination ceremony can really ruin someone's life apparently. Everything happened too quickly for Alto. So Lily asked the priest to introduce her to the knights, took up the investigation herself, and finally tracked down Alto today. Lily started crying and whispered to Alto that, when she found out he was kicked out of the house, she didn't know what she would do if she couldn't find him anywhere. Alto just looks at her in shock, completely stunned by her reaction. Lily shouts that not being able to do anything is not a problem at all. Alto doesn't understand why she cares so much. Someone like him, without any skills, is worth nothing at all. Then Lily hides her face in her hands and begs Alto not to disappear somewhere silently again. Alto just stands and calls her name. He suddenly realizes that there are people who cared about him so sincerely. Lily can't hold on at all. Dramatic lines scatter around her as she tells him that he was called talentless, and he convinced himself that he was worthless. Alto looked ahead with growing determination, thinking that if even one person acknowledges his existence, that would be enough. It doesn't matter what his father or the guild people say, that one person matters. Alto apologizes to Lily for making her worry and says that he is fine now. A close-up shot shows the faces of both. Alto looks steadfast and determined, and tears still stream down Lily's cheeks. Lily sternly told Alto, "Don't make me worry like this anymore." She says if it were him, with his calm appearance, he would easily handle guild work, but Alto admits that in reality he was terribly ineffective. Lily smiles warmly and says to him, "As soon as you recover." He is already thinking about efficiency. She adds that she is glad his usual self has returned. After a few days, Alto stands on the path and tells himself, "I have to try." Since then, he has been working on making his daily tasks more efficient. In the scene, the boss yells that by 10 o'clock he should have cleaned and gathered the dishes, while Alto stands with a notebook, and he started thinking about how to improve and develop his productivity at work. Alto knows that the guild still laughs at him, but it doesn't hurt him as much anymore. Today he finally shortened his working hours a bit, so now there are days when he can really go home and get a proper sleep. Alto walks down the corridor, determined to practice his magic properly for Lily's sake and for himself. A smaller figure follows him, and he wonders if it's because Lily talks to him every day. He thinks that sometimes reading Manhwa gives more strength than sleep. She goes all the way to the very end to see him. The leader approaches Alto and says that from now on he is going on an adventure group as an assistant. They are gathering a huge amount of materials, so extra hands are needed, and Alto asks if that is really okay. But the overseer just yells at Alto that even if he has no skills, he should at least be able to use basic barrier magic. Alto replies with such a wildly enthusiastic expression. Suddenly Alto froze, looking at something in front of him, and realized that he had given up magic so much that he hadn't even checked his status. Suddenly a status window appears right in front of him. He freezes in complete surprise, finally seeing it. In the status window, all these game-like records with information about calories, kai carving, color-generated content, and other stats are shown. Everything is traceable down to the rice noodles, and Alto notes that it is quite natural that everything is in units, because he literally has never used magic even once. Meanwhile, Alto is stunned to realize that to simply level up, he needs to collect 10,000 experience points. The system explains that every time he uses a skill, he gains 1 experience point, but there are other ways to earn it. For example, defeating monsters and clearing dungeons to earn additional experience points. Comparison is striking. For ordinary people, leveling up takes about 10 experience points, and the required amount gradually increases with each level. An ordinary person needs only 100 skill uses to level up. Level 2 requires 200 experience, level 3 300, and level 4 400. But in Alto's case, he has to use the skill 10,000 times just to reach level 2. For level 3, he needs 30,000 experience, and level 4 demands an astronomical 40,000. The difference between him and everyone else is literally 1 to 100. Alto gloomily pondered the huge problem looming over him. Due to the colossal amount of experience needed to level up, the development of his magic suffers a double blow from penalties that can all apply at once. And imagine, if someone has several magical circuits, they can activate multiple skills at once, and when you activate 3 skills simultaneously, the experience gained immediately jumps. But Alto has only one magical chain, so he gains experience much more slowly than usual. If he acts with one skill, all the experience goes only to it. He thinks about barrier magic, which even he can use, but no matter how you look at it, the conclusion is grim. He is in complete despair. Alto opens the newly published book, Magical Instructions, and finally finds what he was looking for. If he pronounces the spell, he will be able to use magic. He focuses on the text and begins. In a moment, Alto successfully cast Body Barrier, and his face lit up with surprise and admiration. The spell really worked. He studies how the barrier works and discovers that what is called life is actually just the endurance of the barrier. As long as the gauge holds, the barrier stands and blocks attacks. As soon as it depletes, the barrier disappears and he takes damage. So far he has managed to activate it, and the status flashes. Barrier Magic Level 1, experience 1 out of 10,000. The numbers are clearly increasing, but Alto keeps wondering how much longer will this last. Suddenly, a notification popped up due to the use of magic. Automatic magic has awakened. Alto just froze, looking confused at the updated status screen. His magic contour 1 now shows automatic magic level 1, 0 out of 10,000, marked as new. Below that barrier magic level 1, 1 out of 10,000, and then the full list. Flame magic, water rice magic, holy magic, dark magic, physical magic, enhancement magic, and evaluation magic all level 1 with 0 progress. Alto was left with the question, what exactly is automatic magic? Suddenly, a system hint appeared on the screen. It asks Alto to record the magic he wants to automatically activate in text slot 1. The instruction says that to awaken the magic, he needs to vividly imagine it in his head and use either the name or the initial number. Alto absorbs this information and thinks that just thinking about it might be enough. He guesses that text 1 might mean something like fireball, and at that moment another display confirms the start of the fireball activation process. Alto froze in complete shock as the fireball activated. The skill worked without any spell. He had never heard of such a thing, and when the system confirmed activation, the level 1 indicator lit up on the screen. But suddenly on the display, it is visible. He can register several skills in text slot 1 and use them one after another. Suddenly, system notifications start pouring in from all sides one after another. They activate a magical buff. Alto understands that the magics trigger in exactly the sequence he listed, but notices one more strange thing: his barrier still hasn't disappeared. Alto glanced at the status screen and saw that the automatic magic added experience points to him, exactly as many as the number of times it triggered. But the real revelation struck him when he realized what the automatic magic actually does. It does not use magical chains at all. Instead, it launches the registered skills instead of them. Alto's mind races. With this system, he could create multi-layered enchantments that usually require a magical contour or constantly cast spells, and suddenly he realizes that this could mean infinite experience grinding. The system reveals more information and shows him how to set repetition in a certain format. Alto thoughtfully asks himself if he can set even more repetitions from here. Excitement grows in him as he realizes he can effectively level up his magic, the very same that once seemed completely hopeless. Becoming a knight may still be difficult, but perhaps instead he can become an adventurer. Lily asks Alto if this was a joke, but Alto says he will try at least once. He still finds it hard to believe that magic can be created without any spell. The two of them sit on the stairs while Alto prepares to test his new ability. A line suddenly appeared on the screen: magic buff activated. Suddenly Lily, stunned, exclaims, "It really worked." She can't believe that Alto has such a unique ability. Alto admits that he himself didn't know about it until today, and explains, unique ability is a special type of magic that doesn't fit into the 8 basic magical systems. For example, Sword Saint, a world-famous, incredibly powerful ability that drastically improves sword technique and movements, and pure clairvoyance, the ability to see anywhere without moving from the spot. Then Alto explains how his unique ability differs from ordinary magic. Usually people recite each spell in turn to activate their abilities, but in his case, automatic magic activates abilities by itself, even if he does nothing. Lily is thrilled by the thought of the consequences. No one can surpass Alto in activation speed with this ability, and with such an advantage, he can definitely become strong. Alto says that it's not about just constantly casting spells. He can achieve automatic activation by doing some other action at the same time. The most interesting thing he wants to check is whether automatic magic can activate even while he is sleeping. Lily enthusiastically agrees and says she can't wait to see what happens next. Alto imagines himself standing in front of a huge dragon in a dark underground cave, but Lily points out the obvious problem. Automatic magic is cool, of course, but he can't just sleep in a dungeon, and Alto quickly clarifies that this is not what he meant. He suddenly realizes the true potential. Starting tonight, he can gain experience points with incredible efficiency, and this is the problem he will have to solve. Lily suggests maybe while he sleeps, experience accumulates by itself. And Alto sits quietly. Pondering this, he admits that he always considered sleep a waste, spending a fifth of the day unconscious just to restore strength. Lily says to his face that this is so typical of him, a fan of efficiency, and Alto is genuinely puzzled and asks, "Isn't that view normal?" Then Alto thinks about safety. He is a little scared that if he releases a bunch of skills in his sleep, something might accidentally trigger. But he could check the results, gradually increasing the number of activations every night. Lily says in surprise that Alto is probably the first person in history who has ever tried to activate skills in his sleep. But Alto retorts, any other approach is simply ineffective. Lily's face instantly becomes completely blank at his words. Then Lily decided that she had come up with a brilliant idea. she suggests staying overnight to watch over Alto. Alto says that it is a good idea and agrees. If something happens, she will wake him up. But then he changes his mind. He likes the advice, but wonders if it would be terribly ineffective for Lily herself, although he admits that for him personally, it is much more effective. Suddenly, Lily blushes at the hints of what she just proposed. The scene suggests that the knight under one roof must do something to Alto as well, since he almost never loses his words. Meanwhile, Alto finally understands what Lily really wants and says that it is not exactly what he meant. Lily stands in the doorway completely confused, trying to recover after her own proposal. But Alto directly accuses her of this. He asks if she is going to ask for something in return. Lily realizes she's been caught red-handed and admits that something might be wrong. Alto says that he has a day off in 2 days. She agrees and promises to ask for one thing then. Meanwhile, there is supposed to be the annual guild party as a token of gratitude for help, but Alto says he will not be able to come and he is not interested. Lily makes a request. Since tomorrow is the entrance ceremony at the Royal Academy of Knights, she needs to buy everything necessary, so she asks Alto to go shopping with her. Alto admits that he does not really like crowded places in the city. Alto sits and goes over all possible options in his head. If he uses automatic magic, he can train alongside other tasks, so even a trip to the shops doesn't seem so bad. Remembers that he used to think spending money on unnecessary things or wandering around shop windows was pointless, but maybe it's worth taking a walk around the city for the first time in a long while and looking around. Lily thinks that when she goes to school, they will not be able to see each other for some time, and admits that this makes her feel a little lonely. Alto says that he doesn't have much extra money right now, but if Lily doesn't mind, he will keep her company during her shopping. Lily replies that even if he had money, she still cannot imagine Alto enthusiastically going shopping. That night Alto sleeps, and Lily watches over him nearby. She looks at his sleeping face and with a slight nostalgia notices it has not changed since then. Lily dives into memories of their shared history. She and Alto were born on the same day and have always been together since then. She remembers how they were children and how Alto decided to become a knight. She admits that she herself began to dream of becoming a knight, as if his dream was pulling her along. Lily continues to look at the sleeping Alto and thinks that she was truly sure they would always be together. But reality takes its toll. In a society divided into classes, the gap between ranks only widens over time. When she found out that the Royal Academy of Knights is a boarding school, she couldn't immediately say yes to enrollment. In her thoughts, she sees Alto's father and his family and suddenly realizes this is inevitably her last farewell to Alto. Lily recalls her feelings when she first learned that she was denied admission. Back then she was torn, but today, hearing such a lively Alto, something inside her changed. She constantly turns over in her mind their shared dream of becoming knights together and asks herself if it's still worth holding on to it. His unique ability seems too strong. And his automagic also seems to be in order. In her memory, young Alto emerges before her, and she tells him that she is going to become a knight. Morning sneaks up and Alto wakes up. He sees that Lily is still sleeping, so he decides to let her rest a little longer. But while he was sitting, a system message suddenly popped up. Sleep training test for buff 5000 magic, suspended due to exhaustion of his mana. It will recover as soon as mana recovers, and the message advises canceling processing next time to avoid this trouble. Alto realized that the skill really worked. Lily did not wake him up, so he decided to turn it off for now. Alto literally beamed with joy when he realized he could train even in his sleep. He was momentarily afraid that mana might run out, but quickly understood. It recovers on its own, like stamina. If left alone and no skills are activated, it's just impossible to use them during recovery. Alto glanced at the status and noticed his account. Overnight experience jumped by 80. His automatic magic was at the first level with 100 progress at 10,000, and the flowerless magic rose to Elvon with 803 out of 10,000 points. He, fascinated by the automatic magic progress, accidentally woke Lily, and she, still half asleep, sleepily asks what is happening. At work, the warehouse manager shouts at Alto to work harder. He responded cheerfully, without taking his eyes off his tasks. While working, Alto thinks about his situation. Awakening automatic magic has not yet made him stronger. He needs many times more experience points to level up than others, and the power of his skills has not increased. The atmosphere at work and the constant need to keep skills sharp begin to exhaust him. Despite the harsh conditions, Alto finds a ray of hope. He feels that he is constantly getting stronger, wherever he is, and when there is something nearby that makes work easier, he gains the necessary inspiration. Later, Alto and Lily arrive in Minton, filled with excitement before shopping. Alto looks around and notices that it is actually a rather large city. as they walk together through the noisy market streets. After some shopping, they bought so much that they ask if they will be able to carry it all at all. But Lily shows in practice. Her levitation magic lifts their purchases into the air. Someone nearby remarks she uses magic to carry everything. Lily cheerfully suggests they go to the next store. Then Lily loudly announces, "This is the last store." Alto reminds that they have already been to the clothing store earlier, and Lily admits, yes, that's true, she just wants things from this store. Lily tells Alto that it will probably take some time, so why doesn't he check out that training center over there? Alto accepts that her shopping always happens exactly like that. Alto asks what kind of place it is, and Lily, with surprise in her voice, replies, "Don't you know, it turns out most people can't just train offensive skills anywhere they want." Lily explains that there is such a place, a training center, where anyone can freely use low-level abilities as much as they want and not worry about property damage or anything like that. And Alto thinks that probably you have to pay for it because nothing is free. But when Lily told him this, Alto was shocked. He is an employee here, and the place is partnered with the guild, so he doesn't have to pay a single penny. Alto tells Lily that he is heading to the training center right away. He enters the Minton Training Center, but as soon as he steps over the threshold, he is surprised at how crowded it is here. Seriously, packed. Someone nearby asks why there is such a crush today. They say that recently monsters have appeared around the town of Minton, on mountain roads, and even in the mines, hence all this noise and panic. Someone sighs, the guild has received more requests, and there are catastrophically not enough hands to handle everything. Another person aloud considers which tasks have priority, and then they realize that's why they called Alto for backup. Since he is already in the training center, Alto can't resist. He decides to test all his offensive skills. After a few hours, Lily finds Alto and calls him. She tells him that she has already done the shopping and asks what he was doing. Alto says that his mana just ran out, so he is taking a break and thinks that training is done for today. Then Alto joyfully celebrates. They really managed to use the facility for free. Lily tells him, "I told you so." But Alto is glowing with excitement, top productivity, and completely free. He says this is the best deal for his money, and then asks Lily about the luggage. Lily explains that a traveling merchant appeared, who also carries cargo, so she entrusted him with the luggage, and sincerely thanks Alto and Hako for this day. Alto says that he just joined, and asks a little confused if it really suits her. Lily smiles. She just enjoys walking and looking at things together while shopping, although she notices that Alto has already gotten quite hooked on good deals. Lily says that from tomorrow for some time they won't be able to communicate like this, then falls silent and adds that there is something else. Alto answers decisively she is right. He thought to himself, what she does is simply impressive. Meanwhile, Alto thinks that it is precisely thanks to Lily, who always pulled him forward, that he became who he is. If not for her, he probably would have remained completely alone, and even now perhaps he wouldn't be able to lift his eyes up. Then Lily tells Alto that she wants him to hear something. She asks Alto if he remembers the day when he told her about his dream, and recalls how she cried then over a trifle, and he simply told her not to be sad. Alto said that even when it gets hard, someday an ally will appear to save her. He promised that if no one comes, he himself will become her knight and come to help, so everything will be fine, and suddenly the scene shifts to a memory where they, still children, sit together under a tree. Alto asks when that was, and Lily thoughtfully recalls that she was about 8 years older then. Alto thought that even for a child, he really went too far with such words. But Lily asks if that part is really what bothers him so much. She explains that back then she didn't have a real goal, playing was enough to have fun, but after spending time with Alto, she wanted to become a knight together with him. Alto told her that he believes she could become a first-class knight who will lead the country, and added that she is about to take the first step toward realizing this dream. Then Lily asked a little confusedly if Alto was even listening. She clarifies that her dream is to become a knight together with Alto. So by entering the academy first, she only gets a small head start before the starting line. Alto says that he will need some time, but he will definitely catch up with her and asks her to wait. Lily agrees and quietly says that she will wait. This moment is like a renewed promise between them. Then Lily, smiling, told Alto that she has something for him. She hands him something that looks like a protective accessory. They explain that it is made from the scale of a dragon defeated by a knight. It is thin and requires no maintenance, so it will not be a burden for him. Alto, thank you, sir. Alto, guys. He had never seen a shop that sells such accessories. Lily explained that there is only one place around here in Minton, so today they had to travel a bit. Alto suddenly realizes the entire shopping trip was prepared down to the smallest detail. Lily tells him that it suits him very well and looks cool, confirming that she intended it that way. Alto thanks her somewhat awkwardly. Lily asks Alto if he likes it when his outfit is praised. And Alto agrees yes, it is quite pleasant. And suddenly the scene abruptly shifts us to half a year. After the ability ceremony, Alto found himself in a low-level dungeon. I take on the task to exterminate poisonous rabbits. The whole area is filled with other novice adventurers who are dealing with the same problem. Here is the thing about poisonous rabbits. If left alone, they destroy crops, so younger adventurers are sent to deal with them. But even when someone defeats them, they barely give experience points, so this quest is incredibly unpopular among adventurers. Alto throws a fireball to knock one down, but for him, this is just a chance to practice and earn some money. Alto thinks maybe it's time for him to take a little break, only poisonous rabbits appear here anyway. He has already knocked down his 20th and noticed that the poisonous stone dropped easily this time. He decides to check his stats while he has a moment. Suddenly a game status screen appears before him, covered with numbers and indicators. It explains that ordinary magic, once it exceeds a certain threshold, unlocks a stronger level of spells, and right here his physical enhancement stats are flashing. Alto wonders if this is really a unique skill, and then decides, since he has already come this far, maybe he can break through to the first level. Notification appeared on the screen. Conditional activation became available. Alto realized that his automagic finally reached the third level. He thought to himself that it was worth it to keep his automatic magic running continuously for half of his straight. Alto ponders this feature of conditional branches. If he sets conditions, will it automatically check them and activate the skill? He looks closely at the syntax of conditions on the screen. If a poisonous rabbit appears, then fireball, and doubting if it really works that way, decides to look for a poisonous rabbit to check. He surveys the surroundings, and suddenly fireball activates completely by itself. The fireball hits the poisonous rabbit, even before Alto manages to notice it. He is simply shocked he didn't even manage to notice the poisonous rabbit, but it, as if automatically, knocked it down, and he didn't have time to do anything. Alto realizes the crazy potential of this system. If you set conditions in advance, it will activate magic by itself, and his will has nothing to do with it. Until now, Alto could only activate skills manually. Even when he went with adventurers as a porter, all he did was cast buffs and couldn't directly help in battle. But from now on, if he sets it so that every time a poisonous rabbit appears, it shoots a fireball, he will be able to hunt poisonous rabbits automatically even in his sleep. This is the true essence of automatic magic, and Alto understands how much this ability does not suit someone like him. He decides not to stop to go further and take them down. Later, Alto finds himself in a new place. For the first time, he stepped here, a place where weapons are sold directly, not his own. The story says that guilds generally come in two types. One takes quests and solves them within the walls of their own guild, and it is exactly such a guild where Alto works. The other type collects requests from everywhere, looks for work for other adventurers or groups, and in free moments takes on some tasks himself. It was in such a guild that Alto took a job this time. Alto approaches the counter and says to the receptionist, "I would like to exchange them, please." The guild receptionist simply froze with her mouth open, looking at the huge pile of poisonous rabbit materials, and in complete shock asks again, are there really that many, or has he been keeping them all this time without exchanging a single one? Alto says that in fact he caught them today and just became much more effective at extermination, and the secretary admits that she has never heard of anyone exterminating so many in one day. Alto casually adds that he also has herbs from a side quest, and asks if she could take care of those too. He kept the evaluation magic constantly on, so Alto's system now hints to him about plants. On the right, a numb flower, and there are herb that thins the blood. When he ordered it to notify every time it noticed any herb, everything became ridiculously effective. The receptionist is in complete amazement. You collected herbs today too, and so many at once. She carefully examines the collection and suddenly notices something. It's mare grass. The story says if you don't have a powerful evaluation spell, usually you have to apply it 10 times to come across this herb. No offense, but an adventurer of Alto's level could not have detected it, and the receptionist herself confirmed this. Alto assumes that maybe it just accidentally got mixed with other materials. The receptionist simply calls it a coincidence. After an hour, the girl at the reception hands Alto his pay, and one of the observers excitedly says that this is earnings for several days, but obtained in one day. The secretaries hint to Alto that maybe he should quit the guild and make resource gathering his main job. But Alto refuses. Gathering is certainly fun and pleasant, but he has his own goal, so he will skip it. Meanwhile, inside the shabby dungeon, the leader of the adventurer squad shouted loudly for everyone to move out. Thanks to the automatic conditional branch function of magic, they now complete gathering quests much faster and more efficiently. The The porter's job in the guild is also important, and meanwhile Alto begins his ritual activating magical skill enhancement while he and others prepare for the dungeon expedition. In the dungeon, Alto suddenly realizes, although he is just a porter, he still gains experience for clearing dungeons. The system says enhancement magic lasts for some time after casting, so in tasks, if he stacks it on allies through several magical cycles, he will get more experience points than when casting it on himself. Alto thinks that everyone can gain experience on their own, but accumulating it much faster in a group, the efficiency is simply impressive. Suddenly one of the adventurers shouted loudly, "Ahead, lizardman!" The traveler rushed forward and unleashed sapphire strikes at the lizard. The attack hit with destructive force. Numerous blows rained down on the creature as the squad attacked in unison, and someone enthusiastically praised the successful takedown. Another adventurer roared as he finished off another enemy. One of them said that the attack was just as it should be, and another noticed that Alto seems to be in a good mood today. But suddenly the tone changes. Someone barks at Alto, "Stop dawdling and clean up this mess faster." They remind him that they are the ones kind enough to hire worthless trash like him. Another voice tells him that this is exactly why he is here to move this and clean up. After the dungeon run, one of the adventurers smiles and says that lately he feels lighter, and another adds the quest also went pleasantly and easily. Someone else says with relief that it is finally nice to relax after all, they have returned to the guild. Then the leader dismisses everyone for the day and says, "Good job." He turns to Alto, calls him errand boy, and asks if he knows what to do. Alto confirms that he does. The traveler orders him to tidy up by tomorrow their belongings and all the possessions of other adventurers, as always. The adventurers set off further. One even suggests stopping for a drink, but before leaving someone reminds Alto that he needs to carefully check every magical stone, because if he does not carefully review the evaluation results, he will not know which monster the stone comes from. Alto replies, "I already know that." He whispers to himself, "I'll see what they have today," and immediately gets to work. Alto stands and surveys the huge pile of equipment and belongings, everything the adventurers brought today. It's an overwhelming list. He has to sort through a pile of everything. Eritrea Division, 4th Dance Shinobi Art, Osashin Nimia Yui Fierce Night Weaving 406103 Production, 4th Misk. Medical off of 110 Rise to the West Platform, Rise to the South Platform, and literally dozens of other items filling the inventory. Alto thought to himself, "It turns out I do have automatic magic." Alto begins to use the conditional branching function he studied for 6 months and automates the entire sorting process. The system sorts typical items itself. Hard ore goes north, magical solution stones go east, fire demon ore goes south, and the rest are checked individually before being sent west. The fewer Western items he has to evaluate manually, the better. He can split the process by evaluation results and set it to repeat. Alto finishes individual evaluations. He looks at the massive pile of equipment and materials from all the adventurers who worked today. Without his automatic magical system, this would definitely have taken a whole day. Now he only has to wait for the sorting to finish. Meanwhile, Alto decides not to waste time while waiting. He diligently and effectively absorbs knowledge. He is in his organized warehouse workplace, surrounded by shelves, barrels, and neatly arranged materials. The current stats show Magic Contour 1, Automatic Magic Level 10 11,000 out of 100,000 experience points, and Evaluation Magic Level 9 32,500 out of 90,000 experience points. Alto thinks about Lily's promise and reminds himself that he will never give up. During the next 2.5 years, Alto trains daily, works as a porter in the Adventurers Guild, and dedicates himself to gaining experience through constant dungeon expeditions and porter work. He barely noticed how the squad he belonged to constantly rose in ranks and had already become the best team in the guild. One of the adventurers joyfully celebrates their success. Alto admits, since they can now go to higher dungeons, he can boldly devote himself to gaining experience, but there is a downside to this. The traveler insists that Alto finish everything by tomorrow, and Alto, as always, modestly replies, "I don't know how." When the adventurers were leaving, one of them shouted at him to hurry up. Even when the party raised their rank, they treated Alto exactly the same as before. He studies magic and dungeons daily and is proud to know more than anyone in the guild. But the adventurers still only care about strength. Alto stands alone in the corridor and thinks that no one ever listens to what he says. Alto looked at the mountain of work ahead and immediately began to organize the warehouse. Today there is so much to accomplish, this time. Usually Pachelone would need at least 10 people. But over the years he accumulated so much experience that many of his skills grew to the level of average adventurers. After half an hour, a system message appeared on Alto's screen. His automagic had reached a new level. He had been activating that skill daily for 2.5 years, and now that it reached level 10, conditional branches opened. Finally, his automagic reached level 20, and for the next one, he has 0 out of 10,000 experience points. Alto received a system message there. They simply explained everything about the new multi-skill function. Now he can write multi, specify the number of repetitions, then the skill name, and finish with end multi. Such a sequence can be done up to 16 times, and since he is already level 20, these skills can now be activated simultaneously. Alto stares at the explanation, trying to understand. Until now he had never been able to activate several skills at exactly the same moment. He runs through in his mind what simultaneous activation really means. The system confirms, since he reached level 20, simultaneous activation is now possible, and Alto suddenly realizes this means he can accumulate and release all offensive spells at once. Alto decides to try it right now and rushes to the training ground behind the guild. He stands in the open space, launches simultaneous activation. Now 16 simultaneous activations are set, and on the screen, multi-16 fireball and multi immediately flash. Suddenly, a powerful explosion thundered on the training field, tearing out a huge crater. Alto stands with wide-open eyes and looks at the destruction while the smoke disperses. The explosion was so powerful that a whole person could fit in the crater, and Alto is completely stunned by the result. His weak offensive magic, multiplied 16 times, now has the power of a high-level adventurer. And if he casts an enhancement spell on top, the power will become even greater. After all, he has been continuously using this skill for 24 hours a day for years, so his mana reserve is above average, and this technique really pays off. He tensely looks at the system interface, where the configuration of multi-16 fireball is shown, and again prepares to launch simultaneous activation. Several huge explosions tear apart the training ground, while Alto continues to test his newly acquired power. The explosions create huge craters and scatter debris in all directions. This destruction is far beyond what a simple spell is capable of. Alto gazes intently at the devastation. The power is insane, as strong as a dragon's breath. He barely restrains his excitement as it sinks in. With such power, he could become an adventurer, or maybe even get into the Knight Academy. The chance to finally prove what he is capable of is almost within reach. The next day, the adventuring party to which Alto belongs gathers together, and their leader, a blonde with spiky hair named Eracilito, addresses the group and thanks everyone for coming. He says that this morning the guildmaster himself summoned him. Over the past 2 years, their guild has achieved more and more feats and grown like never before. Alto stands and looks at the strangely cheerful leader. Having no idea what happened to him, he is always so gloomy, so this gratitude is completely out of character. Eracilito cornered Alto by asking what the guild should do in such times and demanding an answer from someone with no skills. Alto, hesitating a little, suggests raising the members' morale through rewards and similar things. But Eracilito simply sighs in response. Then one from the party says that it is worth recruiting more capable people, and someone else immediately rejects this idea, saying that such optimistic thinking is what made Alto only a porter. Eracilito smiles slyly and explains. The guildmaster said that now is the time to be on alert. The guild wants to raise a wave that will sweep through the entire organization. Meanwhile, the small creatures whisper that they are too weak, and the more the guild grows, the more clumsy ones slip in, but the clumsy will not survive in this guild. Suddenly, Eracilito makes an announcement. By the captain's order, one person will be chosen from each squad and forced to leave both the team and the guild without any exceptions. They decided to arrange a total reshuffle. After that, the party members gather in the guild hall, and Alto contemplates what he just heard. But here Eracilito approaches, and behind him the rest of the companions. And strikes Alto is dismissed from today. These words hit Alto like a physical blow. Eracilito sharply makes it clear that expelling the useless is the guild master's order. He demands to know if Alto really thought he could stay in the S-rank party without any skills. Alto tries to defend himself, saying that maybe he has no skills, but his magic level has not been growing lately. Eracilito interrupts him and sharply says, "Shut up." Alto protests. He has been working as an adventurer for 3 years already and is still only at the beginner level. Alto admits maybe he is of a lower level, but still makes his contribution. But Eracilito throws Alto's own words back in his face and asks, "Didn't you just say that yourself?" Didn't Alto remind him that they need to keep up the fighting spirit for the guild to grow? Eracilito explodes, spouting empty nonsense about how Alto is dragging down the fighting spirit of everyone else, and orders him to leave immediately. Alto runs out of the guild building, and Eracilito stands in the doorway watching. And then one of the companions, in a hood, spoke. They remembered that Alto also did tasks for other parties. They all boosted with buffs and wondered if he could really be let go. Exiled waved off the concern and asked what nonsense they were even talking about, and the figure in the hood coldly remarked that anyone can do household chores, so there is no point in keeping a person without skills around. And one of the party members says that if they hired people with excellent magical talent, their buff would become even stronger, and suddenly Exiled turns to Alto and shouts, asking if he really means that his S-level party needs someone without any skills. Alto stammers, apologizing. Exiled addressed the whole group and made it clear, there is no place for the weak in this guild, so they should remember that well. Later, Alto collapsed on the bed in his small room, staring at the ceiling. He ran his hand through his hair, overwhelmed with disappointment and a sense of defeat. The pendant that Lily gave him lay on his chest. Alto remembers how Lily handed him the pendant and whispered, "Don't forget our promise." She reminds him, "Look at the letter and remember." Someone says they are going to become a knight. Alto sharply returns to reality and asks himself if now is really the time to dream and if he really needs time to grieve. But Alto was fired up. Yesterday the skill activated and gave him a powerful offensive spell, so he decides there is no time to waste. He must move forward to become an independent adventurer. He rushes down the guild stairs while other adventurers discuss that hardly any party will take someone whose only experience is porter work, and that searching is a futile endeavor. Someone calls him Porter, but Alto ignores it. It's only morning, so I immediately take on the quest. Alto approaches the guild receptionist and asks to be introduced to the task of taming rank E. The receptionist asks what brought him here today. Alto explains that until now he only took on F rank requests, just exterminating monsters that were too weak to require any skills. Lily excitedly shows him a piece of paper, as if saying that this time he is challenging E rank. Then he offers exactly that quest. Lily explained that the quest concerns the Black Labyrinth, a dungeon that recently appeared on the outskirts of the city. The quest itself is rank B, but the difficulty ranges from F up to E. Only rank E monsters appear on the first floor. But the deeper he descends underground, the stronger the monsters, first D, then C, and later B-level floors, so he needs to be careful. Alto thanks her, and a little later, standing at the entrance to the dungeon, he is burning with excitement, his first solo quest, and he eagerly wants to find out if he can manage on his own. Returning to the guild counter, Lily hands Alto the order list, a pouch with collected items, and his current payment. Alto recalls his experience in an S-rank party. The simultaneous activation skill he acquired turns out to be perfect for this task, as it allows him to take down D-rank monsters, so he decides to act smartly and determine whether to advance or retreat depending on the situation. Alto approaches the entrance to the Black Labyrinth dungeon, a huge maw carved into the rock wall. He notices that it is more of a labyrinthine dungeon. The map is practically empty, and monsters are everywhere. Top teams going to finish off the dungeon boss do not want to get tired at the very beginning. If there are lots of small enemies around, travelers will expend all their strength before the boss fight. When there are fewer weak enemies, stronger groups can more easily reach the boss, and this rough work is usually done by people like him. Alto enters and immediately notices how spacious it is here. Every passage is huge. So far, he applies physical enhancement 16 times to make himself stronger. He notices that there are lots of traps scattered throughout the dungeon, but fortunately, his conditional branch skill constantly scans and warns him, so he can relax and not worry about accidentally triggering them. A goblin appears ahead, and Alto. It identifies him as an E-rank monster, perfect for beginners to practice on. He prepares to attack and activates his multicast spell 16 fireballs. Alto launches a simultaneous activation and immediately releases all 16 fireballs. The joint attack causes a colossal explosion that fills the entire corridor. The explosion engulfs the underground passage in flames and ruins. When the smoke clears, Alto looks at the destruction he caused and suddenly realizes that he probably overdid it a bit. Meanwhile, Exiled loudly justifies himself, insisting that this is not a failure, he simply didn't make it in time for certain reasons. But Lily calmly notes that even at the deepest level, this black labyrinth is just beer ink and is not really that big. Exiled instantly goes on the defensive and shouts at her, "Are you calling me weak?" Exiled continues to insist that they will definitely clear the dungeon tomorrow, so others better stay away. Just as Alto was approaching the guild counter, Exiled noticed him. He immediately mocks him, calling him a worthless scoundrel, and wonders why Lily took someone like Alto on the quest herself. The guild receptionist happily welcomes Alto back and calls him over. When she checks his request form and sees he went into the Black Labyrinth to tame an E-rank monster, Exiled laughs, how fitting for a useless person. The receptionist asks if Alto defeated the monsters, and Alto answers affirmatively yes. Turned out it was not only on the first floor. Both Lily and the receptionist look surprised. But then Alto simply drops that he even defeated the boss. Suddenly, the whole guild exploded in shock. Someone shouts that it can't be that worthless Alto defeated a B-rank boss. The dark-haired adventurer from his squad took the magic stone, looked at it, and confirmed it definitely belongs to the Minotaur, and Lily froze in shock that it was done by an F-rank adventurer. Irasalito aggressively grabs Alto and demands, "What sneaky trick did you pull?" Alto insisted he did nothing dishonest, but Irasalito calls him a liar and says he is just a failure, incapable of anything. Lily tries to intervene, shouts at them to stop, and the guards step in. They tell Alto that he will have to be asked to leave, and he protests indignantly. He needs to expose Alto's misdeeds. When Alto is escorted out under guard, he complains that he is not strong enough had just fought, and one of the escorts coldly says, "You can complain to us outside." Returning to the counter, Alto sincerely thanks Lily, and she again gladly congratulates him on his victory over the boss. Then she says that since he has fulfilled all the necessary conditions, the guild will issue him a lower rank license. Alto carefully examines his brand new rank D license. Understanding this, he immediately realizes, from the very beginning he can take on B-rank tasks. He thinks to himself that he actually has power equal to A rank, and suddenly Lily jumps up from behind and says that there are rules for this, although she believes he will soon meet the requirements. Later, Alto sits at the table with Lily and sincerely thanks her because he has just realized something great. By his own strength, step by step, he defeated that boss, and for the first time in his life someone truly appreciated his skills finally. He feels that he is becoming a real knight. Meanwhile, in a clearing in the forest, Alto is. And he is there now, honing his skills in controlling his projectiles. One of his attacks flew through the trees, but completely missed the target. Alto again notices that he missed. Looking at the results, he realizes that from about the 7th projectile his control simply fails. Alto does not stop analyzing his game, putting everything in order. Yesterday's solo quest showed a bunch of problems, and if he wants to grow faster, he needs to identify challenges and areas for improvement. He reviewed his tactics and realized, when attacked from several directions, simultaneous activation gives a serious power boost. This meant splitting items and launching several attacks simultaneously. But here is the thing in his head: the diagrams show this clearly. The more skills he activates simultaneously, the harder it is to maintain their trajectories. After so much training, he still controls only 16 projectiles in total, but at least now, he keeps about 5 or 6 trajectories under control. Alto decides that this is enough for now. He looked at the clock and suddenly realized it is exactly the time when the guild opens, where quests are announced. Alto comes to the Quest Introduction Guild, and inside an employee explains that for solo beer quests, there are currently 3 options available. One of the tasks is a dungeon that has already been cleared once, but it is still full of monsters, so it will be a real extermination, and Alto asks to take the dungeon in the mine. The blonde female guild administrator reviews his request and says that it is really large-scale, so she gives him permission for extermination for 2 days. And he is free to take any war loot with him. Alto, thank you, sir. Walking away from the guild, Alto's thoughts whirl. Before, no matter how many items he gathered thanks to automagic, everything had to be distributed among the whole team. And now, when he easily takes down a B-rank boss alone, all the items will go only to him. Meanwhile, Lily waves her hand and shouts, "Good luck." At the guild entrance, sincerely wishing fortune to be on his side, Alto announces that he is setting off. An hour later, Alto reaches the Achilles mine, and before him towers the entrance, a giant cave carved into the slope, all overgrown with plants. Alto enters the dark tunnel, his body barely glowing with magic. The cold is stronger than he thought, and he is glad he took a jacket. Deep in the Achilles mine, Alto narrows his search strategy. Since it is a mine, he concludes that it is about magical stones. Nothing too big or heavy can be transported here, so the search target must be limited to rare underground finds. Alto suddenly remembered how he once came across a description of a rare magical stone in a book. As he makes his way deeper into the cold tunnel, suddenly a huge troll appears before him. Its grotesque face filled the entire passage. Trolls are B-rank monsters with extremely low intelligence but incredible endurance and strength, against which ordinary adventurers have no chance, and they are terrifyingly dangerous due to their furious aggression. But Alto does not hesitate. He activates Fireball 8 times, by the book. Devastating barrage directly at the troll, magical projectiles flew through the air and slipped, and hit the creature with explosive force. The troll takes the full brunt of the simultaneous attack, the blows illuminating the tunnel of dark mines. Alto easily confirms the murder, pulls a troll stone from the fallen monster, and immediately a system message pops up on the screen. He has discovered a magical gem. Alto looks around, tensely searching for it. And after a moment of searching, he notices something shining in a hole in the wall of consciousness. Taking out the glowing gem, Alto carefully examines the rare stone with a unique glow and thinks about how much they will pay for its sorting is done by himself, but the money is given by the authorities, so he does not really know the exact value. And then another system message appears this time about the dragon's eye stone that he found. Making his way through the dungeon, Alto barely manages to react. Messages pop up continuously, with every step a new one, and he cannot help but think that this B-level dungeon is much more interesting than he expected. Later, Alto returns to the guild, where they introduce him to the world of quests. The receptionist greets him on his return, confused and surprised that he came back so quickly. She reminds him that his hunting permit was for 2 days and asks if something happened. Alto explains that he initially hoped to exchange today's loot for money because he gathered more items than expected. Lily is stunned when he offers to share, and asking if he means half of everything, tries to stay calm and says she is happy for him. But when Lily examines what Alto brought, she really loses her head. In panic, she recognizes the magical chimera stone and the dragon stone among the finds, and barely restrains her shock. Each of these items is incredibly valuable. The bag is overflowing with rare gems, and Lily looks at Alto with uncontrollable amazement, asking if he really got all this by himself. Alto casually says that he has always been good at scouting. Lily firmly believes that Alto should already join the Guild of Gatherers, but first she needs to evaluate them all in detail. When the evaluation was completed, Lily showed Alto the result: 10 gold coins. Alto's jaw dropped. He couldn't believe how much he earned from one dungeon run. Lily examines what Alto brought and can hardly believe her eyes. Gathering so much in the B-rank dungeon is simply incredible. Shadow monsters are marked on the map on the wall, so strong that usually 10 people are needed to handle them. Meanwhile, Alto froze. Looking at the 10 gold coins, he still can't comprehend this amount. Lily directly asks how strong he really is, and Alto frankly admits even the results surprised him. Later, Alto and Lily go outside and talk about his plans. Alto sighs and says that he still needs to decide on the entrance fee for the Night Academy, and Lily quietly responds that there are many such cases. Talented people leave because they cannot afford to pay for education. Alto notes as long as he can eat, everything is fine. Windows are just a useless luxury. He never wanted more than necessary and didn't earn much, but now everything is different. The warehouse manager makes it clear he doesn't have that kind of money to help Alto pay for education. Alto sits and thinks that he planned to gradually save the necessary funds by completing gathering quests. In the Knights Academy, most students are from noble families. The exception is special students like Alto. About 80 of those in the academy are from noble families. With the new underground hall, Alto happily realized that very soon he would be able to save money for education. The next day in the Ashal mine, Alto returns in the best shape, ready for another run. The backpack is once again packed to the brim, so he decides to return for now. Walking with his mind, Alto notices it. His experience gain efficiency has increased several times, and he is puzzled about which quest to take from tomorrow. Suddenly, a terrible sound echoes in his head. Someone shouted, "Go check," and Alto, stunned, exclaimed, "What was that?" In response, they told him it was not a simple scream. Then Alto rushed, running to the source of the noise. Alto rushes through the mine and shouts that he is sure the sound came from here. And then he sees it, a huge dragon blocking the passage ahead. Alto notices that someone is trapped under the dragon and instantly realizes this person is in direct danger. Without hesitation, he activates the physical buff X16. He tears forward and strikes the dragon with enhanced strength. The creature roared when the blow landed. Alto continues to fight the dragon with all his might and suddenly someone in the mine shouted, "Why the hell is there a dragon here?" The giant creature dominates the passage. Its scaly body fills the tunnel, and Alto does not stop the attack. A blonde girl with a ribbon in her hair kneels beside the wounded man, tears streaming down her face, and she whispered, "Are you alive?" Alto appears and asks if they are okay, and the woman only stammers, is clearly confused and shocked by everything that is happening. Alto leans over the unconscious man and recognizes it's Mike. Then he says to the woman, "If you can escape with Mike, do it now." Someone shouts scaredly, "Mike." Meanwhile, Alto says he will try to do something with the dragon. Alto decides to divert the dragon's attention from 2 peaceful people. Someone shouts to drive the dragon far away from them. Then Alto rushes at the creature, loudly teasing it, calling it a giant clumsy oaf, and declaring that now he himself is the dragon's rival. But the dragon begins to prepare something devastating. Alto recognizes it: dragon breath, and anxiety appears on his face. He understands that they are still too far from safety. The dragon launches an attack. A massive explosion of energy fills the entire mine shaft passage. Dragon's breath bursts into the head with incredible force. Alto notices that it strikes powerfully, but the real danger is the wave of heat that spreads on contact, and the destructive energy from the point of impact flies in all directions, throwing people and debris everywhere. Someone suddenly realizes, if this continues, those who were before will die. Alto activates the physical buff again X16. Accumulating his enhancement, he rushes forward through the air, speeding with increased velocity. Then an attack or dragon's counterattack pushes Alto down. He falls painfully, but still draws the dragon's attention and shouts for it to chase him specifically. The dragon's breath explodes through the tunnel of mind with destructive power. But Alto suddenly understands. Being in the air might even help disperse this wave of heat. It hits him only when he flies, and if this heat covers the people on the ground, there will be many more victims. Much better to lift it into the air than to allow it to spread across the ground, where everyone else stands. Then Alto releases a counterattack. He activates Ice Needle times 16 in continuous activation mode. And suddenly a huge volley of icy projectiles flew at the dragon, filling the air with icy spears. The ice needles struck the dragon's breath, and a powerful explosion occurred. Someone below realizes that an explosion just thundered, and a blonde woman screamed in fright from the impact. The collision creates a powerful shockwave. Icy growths spread around in circles. Alto triumphantly exclaims that he really managed to neutralize the dragon's breath attack. He decisively orders the dragon to make its next move, and one after another launches the ice wall 16 times. Giant ice walls rise between him and the dragon, creating a protective barrier, while the creature is still hidden in smoke and debris. Someone noticed that an ice wall just appeared. Meanwhile, the blonde who is still covering the unconscious Mick suddenly understands everything. At first, she thinks this magic is his doing, but immediately realizes that the dragon's breath no longer carries a wave of heat. The ice wall towers in the mine, protecting them from the place where the dragon stands. Alto thinks it's strange that the dragon wanders these borderlands. This is really unusual. The dragons lay on the ground, clearly beaten after Alto's attacks. Ice blocks and debris scattered around. Someone nearby notices that it seems they somehow won the fight. Meanwhile, Alto stands in the ruined mine and tries to comprehend what just happened. He notes that the appearance of a dragon just an hour's journey from the city is completely unheard of. He mentally notes that an S-rank monster is a rarity even among dungeon bosses. He was able to defeat him only because he happened to possess the magic of ice and water. And suddenly it dawns on him, these are the same people who were here before. He instantly turns around to check on them, and Alto rushes there and sees that the guard and the blonde woman are tending to Mike. He was still lying unconscious on the ground. The guard asks if Alto is okay, and the blonde calls him. Alto quickly pulls out a potion, says he always keeps it ready. Diseases scare him the most when he travels alone, and hands it to them. Miko apologizes and says that the paralysis is still making itself felt. The group breathes a sigh of relief. They have been saved. The blonde woman smiles warmly. Alto thanks him wildly. She admits that for a moment she didn't know what would happen. Alto reacts a little awkwardly to her gratitude. The guard lowered his head in shame and apologized profusely for completely failing his duty, while the blonde woman firmly ordered him to raise his head. She would not tolerate this, but he still objected. But the woman says that they could not have predicted that they would encounter a dragon in such a place, and even more so did not expect that someone from their own would betray them. She looked at Alto in the distance and thought with relief. Fortunately, this guy was good enough to save them. The blonde turned to Alto, called him her savior, and sincerely thanked him for saving their lives. Alto reacts awkwardly, all nervous and clumsy. He introduced himself as Alto, simple and short. She replied that her name was Charlotte and hoped they would get to know each other well. But Alto was completely confused by each of her graceful movements and mentally decided that she was like a living doll. Charlotte asks if she can properly thank him later and asks which guild he belongs to. But even before Alto manages to answer, she apologizes and says they urgently need to return to the city. Charlotte asks Alto to name the guild he usually uses. Alto protests that no thanks are needed, he is just a simple freelance adventurer. But he admits it is a quest intermediary guild, the White Lancers. The postal guard nods, says he knows the place, and advises them to leave immediately. The group prepares to take off. The guard apologizes for all the trouble and leaves, while Charlotte, smiling warmly, promises Alto that she will definitely repay him for this. Alto just stands and watches them leave, not understanding what was that all about. A few days later, at the White Lancer Guild, Warehouse Chief Shub shouted sharply, ordering him to move it, and Alto almost stumbled from the force. The chief launched into a tirade, blaming everyone around for whose fault it was that he was forced to organize the warehouse. They said that all the work that Alto used to do suddenly fell on them the moment he left due to a lack of people. The supervisor constantly shouts that just a glance at Alto drives him crazy. Meanwhile, in the Guild of the White Lancers, Slido approaches and asks what their hardest task is right now. The guild workers reply, maybe to clear the dungeon called B-ranked. Arasalito immediately rejects this. He says it's not enough. They need a big achievement right now. He insists on finding out if there are any rank quests. The thing is, the Eraslido squad has been performing poorly lately. They failed quests several days in a row, and the guild master's trust in them has sharply declined. The guild workers tell him that they currently have no A-rank tasks, which irritates Eraslido even more. He calls them useless and threatens to look for work elsewhere. And suddenly, a representative of the king bursts into the guild, wearing glasses and formal attire with an entourage. Someone remarked that after recent failures, he even has the audacity. Meanwhile, the guild receptionist kindly invites them inside. Some official announced that he came to request a commission from a certain man. Suddenly, Alto notices the emblem on the man's chest and realizes that he is a representative of the crown. The representative explains that this request is by nomination. He is here to issue an extremely difficult quest to test whether the nominee can pass the exam. Alto froze in complete shock, and Eraslido also looked quite stunned. The official does not stop and explains that usually only students of the Royal Academy of Knights can take the knight selection, but as an exception, those not from the academy can pass it if they have a recommendation from the royal court. The royal court gives these super difficult quests to those who have potential. This is how they check if they are worthy. Alto recalled that he had heard rumors about this before, but never thought it really existed, and could not help but envy this opportunity. Then the representative said, "My name is Lido." Suddenly, Eraslido lit up with excitement. He is sure that his exploits have finally reached the royal court. This is his only chance in life to regain his honor. Lily and Eraslido froze in surprise and tension, holding their breath, waiting to hear who would be named in the nomination. Then Leto addresses Alto directly, confident that this is him, and does not hide his surprise. What a coincidence. He says that Alto looks exactly as he was told, and there is no doubt about it. Alto responds, confused. But Eraslido just explodes, demands that Leto wait a minute. He does not believe that this guy is Alto, and asks, what about him then? He shouts that Alto is a talentless loser without any skills, then demands if Leto knows the name Oraso, and Eraslido insists that they say he is currently the most likely candidate for the title of Royal Knight. Leto replied dryly that he had never heard of Oraso, and Eraslido was completely devastated by this answer. Meanwhile, Leto explains that the princess wants Alto to become a knight, and asks if he will agree. Alto asks for clarification if it is indeed the princess, to which Leto confirms and asks again if he will accept. Alto asks hopefully, does completing that quest mean he can participate in the knight selection? Leto admits that it is incredibly difficult, but if Alto manages, he will be given the right to challenge the Royal Guard selection exam along with the third-year students of the Knight Academy. Eraslido froze in shock when Lily suddenly raised her hand and began begging to take the quest instead of him, imploring Leto to allow her to do so. The situation turns into chaos as several people burst out with objections, and someone insists that this must be a mistake after all. Alto is officially without any skills and cannot possibly become a knight. Eraslido makes another desperate move, swearing by his determination and the fact that he once led an S-ranked team that he is the one who should be chosen. But Leto coldly asks if Eraslido is ready for the consequences if he dares to contradict the princess's words. Leto calmly explains the situation. The court recommending a complete unknown that has never happened before. The princess anticipated that opposing opinions would arise, so besides the quest itself, it was decided that Lord Alto must prove his strength in the exam or in a duel before the people, and someone noticed this on the contrary. If strength is recognized in that duel, there may be a chance for a recommendation to the selection exam. Alto thought to himself, such an approach will make it harder for people to object. The results will convince the majority themselves. Leto asks if Lord Alto agrees with this arrangement, and Alto smiles in response. That sounds quite reliable to me. Eraslido seized the chance, exclaimed that he is sincerely grateful for this whole matter, and that he, Eros-O, will give everything he has to this fight. Then Leto announced, tomorrow at the arena of the royal palace, there will be a duel between the two of them. Thoughts in Alto's head rush. Everything is happening so fast that he barely keeps up, but he understands. This is his chance, and no matter the conditions, he is determined to overcome them. Eraslido happily seizes the agreement, but Leto adds that the princess will also come, so they must not be late under any circumstances. Meanwhile, preparations for security measures were in full swing at the Knight Order headquarters. The public duel begins, which was decided at the last moment. The knight, without unnecessary words, reports to the gathered officers. The knighthood exam has captured the public's keen attention, and rumors about some unknown adventurer have already spread throughout the capital. Officials anxiously discuss security issues. The more people come, the higher the likelihood that dangerous individuals will slip into the crowd. The knight with braided hair insists, "We need to prepare for any development of events and do everything absolutely perfectly." The briefing continues. Someone orders the squad commanders to finalize the deployment and to address all questions by the end of the day. This is a vital mission. We must simultaneously protect both civilians and the princess. Then a man knight addressed the assembled troops. He acknowledged that this is an emergency situation, but expects everyone to give their all. He dismissed them to carry out their duties. And the knights responded with disciplined confirmation. Meanwhile, the document about Alto is being carefully reviewed. And the princess walks down the palace corridor, her footsteps echoing loudly within it. The princess carefully studies the document about Alto, clearly impressed by his achievements, and thinking to herself that Alto is truly amazing. But along with this realization came a bitter feeling that she is not up to the task. She believed she was ready at the start, but at her level, she does not have the strength to single-handedly defeat an A-rank monster. She looks at the document with growing determination and decides that she must become much stronger to stand beside him. The royal palace arena is packed to the brim. Spectators have taken every section of the stands, and the crowd roars with anticipation and excitement. Then the host addresses the audience and thanks everyone for waiting. And announcing that the main event has finally arrived, he declared that now they will show the night selection, the exam nominees, and their opponents. The announcement continues. The host takes the floor and begins to talk about the recommended participant, Alto. Meanwhile, in the waiting hall, Alto sat on a bench, and Leto stood nearby. Leto tells Alto that he can hardly wait to see his true strength today. But Alto responds, and nervousness is visible on his face. Thoughts race through Alto's mind. The pressure mounting, he understood that the outcome of this duel would determine his entire life, and that it would change drastically. He reminds himself, this is not a usual battle. Here you can simply show the results of training, and the tension rises because Alto begins to get nervous. But then his determination hardens. He knows he absolutely cannot lose. On the stairs to the arena, Leto ran into Alto and mockingly said, "I thought you would run away in fear, but look, you actually came. At least you have some courage." Nearby, the guildmaster and other members of the squad. Someone says that if Alto defeats Leto, he will earn the right to take the quest needed for the night qualifying exam. Leto, with a sparkle in his eyes, confidently told the guildmaster that he would become a knight and bring glory to the guild, and the guildmaster smiled and said he was counting on him. And suddenly, one of Leto's companions notices Alto. He recognizes him as that loser who was kicked out of the guild, and another squad member questioningly asks, "Isn't it too easy when all they have left is to defeat this guy?" Leto's teammate declares that this will kill instantly, and Leto fully agrees, smiling confidently. The guildmaster and Leto laugh loudly together, imagining how easily they will defeat Alto. Leto addressed Alto and Leto and said he would now explain the rules. He clearly announced two conditions. The winner is the one who destroys the opponent's barrier, or at least wounds him a little, and as soon as this happens, there will be no further attacks. Knights stand ready in the arena, so minor wounds are instantly healed by healing magic. Alto listens attentively, absorbs the rules, and clearly understands what he must do. Then Leto says he has nothing against Alto showing all his strength, and that's that. Alto replies, "So, if everything is within the rules, one can be unrestrained." The group tensely prepares to head to the arena. And Leto loudly says, "Time to go." Alto moves forward with determination. Alongside him are Leto and the people in power. He heads to the entrance of the arena. Meanwhile, the announcer addresses the packed hall, thanks everyone for waiting, and announces the duelists' entrance. Leto and Alto step into the arena amid the crowd's roar. The announcer solemnly declared that the public duel for the judicial recommendation regarding the night qualifying exam and the official appeal against it is now beginning. The two opponents stand facing each other in the very center of the huge arena, and between them is the judge, a knight named Butts. He introduces himself as the night judge and asks if they understood the rules. Alto and Leto confirmed in unison that they understood. Leto confidently declared that he would knock Alto down with one blow and announced that he was starting. Butts gives the signal and announces that the duel has begun. Rasalito instantly lunges forward and aims at the highest level skill summons Dragon Breath and unleashes a colossal magical attack. Alto recognizes this move, but realizes that his head has just experienced a real Dragon's Breath. When Erasalido's spell rushes towards him, Alto responds with a fireball. Erasalido mocks him, laughing that with such a primitive skill Alto can never defeat him. Meanwhile, the spells collide right in the center of the arena. And the spectators immediately react in shock to the size of Alto's fireball, as if, how the hell could a simple spell grow to such a size? Two magical attacks collided with stunning force, and Alto pushes his fireball forward, right through Erasalido's Dragon Breath. This collision generates these colossal waves of energy that rippled across the entire floor of the arena, and then the collision causes a destructive explosion that simply shakes the entire arena. Several shock waves burst from the explosion site, covering the center with incredible force, and someone in the crowd stands, overwhelmed by shock at what is unfolding before their eyes. Erasalido shouts that this is impossible, but Alto's fireball completely drowns out his Dragon Breath, creating a colossal explosion that shakes the entire arena. The explosion envelops Erasalido, while Alto simply stands opposite unharmed. Someone in the crowd screams and is shocked by what just happened. The dust finally settles, and Erasalido lies on the ground, completely defeated. The crowd erupts in complete shock and disbelief. No one believes their eyes. The judge raises his hand and loudly announces, "The winner is Alto." The spectators can hardly believe their eyes. Alto stands victorious in the middle of the arena. Erasalido sits in stunned shock from the defeat and cannot understand how he lost to that clumsy, skillless bastard. Then some official approaches Alto and says that his strength is truly, as the rumors said, is genuinely worthy to be a knight. Alto gratefully thanks him for this. Meanwhile, below, Charlotte suddenly recognizes Alto. In her head, the voice of the one who saved her that day rings. Aginch quietly whispers his name. Princess Charlotte approaches Alto with gratitude and sincerely thanks him for the previous day. Alto is completely shocked, stammering that she is a princess. Charlotte, apologizing for the late introduction, admits that she is Princess Charlotte from the Kingdom of Lawrence. She says that if it weren't for him, she would already be dead, and thanks him with all her heart. Meanwhile, the guild master roared, "What is this supposed to mean?" And someone nearby frankly admitted they have no idea either. Charlotte told Alto that she witnessed his abilities. Agena truly has the strength worthy of a knight. Then a man from the royal family explains that their family really wants to recommend Alto for selection to the Royal Academy of Knights. Charlotte continues, but there is one but. He must prove that his skills are truly worthy of the recommendation. Evan, the royal family cannot just give recommendations to anyone, so Alto will have to pass a trial first. Charlotte asks if he agrees, and says that for completing the quest he will also receive a reward. Alto instantly replied that it would be an honor for him. Charlotte tells Alto that she will officially contact him later, and adds that she sincerely wants him to become a knight. They shake hands. Charlotte says she places great hopes on him, and Alto sincerely thanks her. Gratitude and unwavering determination are visible on his face. But the guild master is furious, shouting at Erasalido that it is all because he lost to that worthless failure, and adds that he was humiliated too. Rage grew when he showered Erasalido with curses for failing to clear the level B dungeon, causing the guild's prestige to plummet to rock bottom and earning the royal family's enmity, while Erasalido could only endlessly apologize. The guildmaster coldly remarked that he would usually have fired Erasalido right then and there. And Erasalido panicked, begging for anything just not to be fired. The guildmaster announced that he was giving Erasalido one last chance. He explained that the very survival of their guild was at stake, and he could not allow it to fail. But if things continued like this, Erasalido would completely forget about his adventure career. Erasalido desperately asked what chance he was being given. Then the guildmaster's plan became clear. He ordered Erasalido to arrange everything so that the clumsy fool Alto would make a big mistake. He thought, although the princess might have said such things about Alto's abilities, no person without any skills could have pulled off such a stunt, defeating Erasalido in a duel. The guildmaster explained, it made sense to suspect treachery if they could prove that Alto was truly incompetent. It would validate their accusations. Erasalido exclaimed excitedly, "That's how a guildmaster should act." But the guildmaster sternly warned that no more failures would be tolerated, and Erasalido enthusiastically replied that he would definitely unmask this impostor. The next day, Erasalido and his squad approached the cave entrance, and one of the members nervously asked if this was where the infamous S-rank boss was sealed. Erasalido tried to calm them down. There was no real need to actually kill monsters. He said that as an S-rank party, they could eventually be the ones to defeat the boss sealed here. But today they are only on reconnaissance. The team stands nearby, silently staring into the ominous cave entrance. Then Irasolido's true intentions become clear. He paid a lot of money to a court official to find out what mission Alto was sent on. He calculated that no matter what tricks Alto used, he would not be able to defeat the S-rank boss. If everything goes according to plan, Irasolido might even get rid of Alto as a pesky obstacle forever. Irasolido smiled sinisterly, determined to do everything to make Alto lose at any cost. The squad enters the cave system, and Irasolido loudly calls everyone to move out. After a few hours, they finally reach the sealed chamber hidden deep in the dungeon. Standing before the seal, Irasolido feels something disturbing. His whole body tingles from the ominous aura emanating from the sealed boss. One of the group members grumbles that he doesn't even remember how many high-class potions they drank to get this far, listing S-class elixirs and high-grade healing potions, and the complaints don't stop. He keeps saying his feet are cold, and he's scared. Irasolido decisively orders his team to break the seal and grab the talisman. One of the girls in the squad indignantly objected. This is the seal of an S-rank boss, and besides, we were supposed to be only on reconnaissance. But Irasolido sharply interrupted them. Stop whining, grab the talisman and run immediately and there will be no problems, and threatens, if you don't do it now, I'll fire you all. The girl from the team shouted to them, grab the talisman now. Irasolido triumphantly exclaims, I did it. Suddenly the seal shatters into pieces in a huge explosion of energy. The talisman cracks and crumbles into fragments, and the company looks up at it from below. The seal burst completely under the stunning force. The party members panic and bustle as colossal energy breaks free. Irasolido screams in horror. Everyone flees from the destructive seal. A voice calling itself Espas echoes in the chamber, and the woman from the group desperately shouts for everyone to run faster, applying physical enhancements. Meanwhile, Irasolido's face distorts into a dark smile. He realizes that this is the end for Alto. The team rushes through the dungeon corridors. Someone shouts from behind, wait for the captain. After a few days, Alto finally received a briefing before the quest. The knights introduced two who would go with him on this mission and evaluate him. This mission was given by the royal family. It is a mental-type dungeon, and it is very difficult along the way. Almost all monsters are ranked B or higher, and the boss is S-class. But this dungeon also has its own history. Once adventurers tried to defeat its boss, but due to the monster's incredible resilience, the fight dragged on endlessly. Because to this day no real damage has been dealt to it, realizing that they could not defeat it, they managed to seal the boss, and it remained sealed for many years. The knights clearly say, this mission is not about defeating the boss, it is about retrieving the treasure chest in his hall. Alto will be accompanied by two knights, and since the boss is sealed, he won't even have to face him. Alto is focusedly reviewing the quest documentation. He checks his preparations and makes sure the automatic magic settings are ready. And he has fully stocked supplies of potions. Alto froze before the entrance to the dungeon, where the infamous boss hides, preparing for the night qualifying exam, a high-difficulty quest. He is fired up and says he will complete this task no matter what happens. Alto steps into the ominous dungeon entrance, ready to prove what he is capable of. Alto sneaks deep into the dungeon, knocking down monsters with precise strikes. Entities fall before him as he ventures deeper into the darkness. Suddenly, several glowing eyes appeared from the shadows ahead, watching. Alto triumphantly raises the exquisite treasure up. The quest objective is achieved. The knight enthusiastically praised his ability to notice and sincerely admitted, when the S-level alarm sounded, she really thought it was the end for them. Meanwhile, that knight admits that he did not expect them to pass the dungeon so easily, says that he still has room to grow, and sincerely thanks Alto for guiding them. The group decides to return. They successfully completed the extremely difficult quest. They return to the city, exiting from the dungeon entrance. Alto sits on a few steps and exhales with relief. Everything went smoothly, especially since it was a quest from the royal family itself. One of the knights admits he is completely exhausted. As two knights drag on, the two of them celebrate, acknowledge Alto's strength, and sincerely rejoice that they overcame the quest together. Alto's thoughts involuntarily drift to his childhood friend Lily. She is already a step ahead and heading to the starting line. She was already first in her class at the Royal Knights Academy, probably honed her skills by training in duels with experienced comrades there. And she even earned the right to challenge the Academy's qualifying exam. Meanwhile, Alto spent 3 years continuously gaining experience points. He was branded as skillless and without magic, and he literally gained experience even in his sleep. Alto feels a glimmer of hope. If only he can pass the qualifying exam, it seems he will finally catch up to Lily. He sits in meditation and thinks, Although he is despised for his incompetence, he can still become a knight. Alto prepares, decisively activates his automagic and decides to work even harder for the exams, but first he needs to grab a bite. And so, as he walks through the city, suddenly a huge crowd appears and a wild commotion rises around. Alto just stands, frozen, while chaos erupts around him. Someone in the crowd shouted for everyone to run. Meanwhile, that blonde with spiky hair in the middle of the crowd yells that the boss has come down from the mine, and Alto simply cannot believe his eyes. People start to panic, asking if it's serious and if they need to hurry, and then someone adds that this is the very one whom even the A-rank adventure group couldn't defeat. The blonde points with his hand and warns this is the way to the boss, and Alto realizes that the situation has completely gone awry. People scatter in all directions, and Alto rushes in the opposite way in his thoughts. There is only one thing. The dungeon called Mind, which he entered, lies straight down this road. Not far from the city, they need to deal with the boss as quickly as possible and do it as far from the city as possible. But now Alto found himself face to face with the threat. A huge zombie dragon emerges before him. Its undead body towered huge and menacing. Despite the furious barrage of blows, the zombie dragon constantly regenerates. Someone shouts what to do, and another adventurer understands. No matter how much they attack, the creature simply regenerates and no dent remains on it. The situation worsens, and someone grimly notes that everything moves slowly but relentlessly. The blonde adventuress realizes even though so many high-ranking adventurers have gathered here, it is still not enough. If this continues, the zombie dragon will soon reach the city. Alto rushes along the raised structure, thoughts about everyone still left in the city swirling in his head, and he throws Fireball X16X. A colossal destructive spell strikes the dragon zombie. The force that tore off its head. Alto sees the result and thinks that he has decapitated it. That should definitely be enough to finish it off. But at that very moment, someone shouted, "The creature is healing incredibly fast." Meanwhile, the knight commander of the guard arrives at the scene. The knight with a goatee looked at the situation and immediately understood. No need to ask, this is a complete failure. He asks what is happening and spots Alto, because he recognized in him the very big boss the guards had talked about earlier. Someone shouts Alto that their attacks do not work at all, and another person adds that regeneration is the feature of Dragon Zombie, and that is why he is S-class. Scientists say 7 cores are hidden in his torso, all of them must be destroyed simultaneously at the same moment. Then the technical problem becomes quite obvious. With 4 circuits, someone can hold a barrier and simultaneously launch 3 attacks, and it is the magical circle schemes that show this limitation. The blonde knight realizes that this is impossible. Alto admits to himself, this definitely will not be easy. The light-haired knight notices, the more talented someone is in magical circles, the higher their level. Someone dreams of having one like Lily, she has as many as 7 circles. But the tone and tempo of skills vary for each, and it is also necessary to simultaneously hit 7 cores moving inside the body. For this, several people are needed who will harmoniously combine their skills. Alto understands, hitting the cores exactly simultaneously is impossible. But the blonde knight shouts that there is no choice and everyone's help is needed. He orders everyone to report how many magical circles they have. Alto says that among all here he has the most. The blonde-haired knight replies that then they will destroy the course simultaneously. He has already detected them with his evaluation skill. 7 key points open on the dragon's body: left wing, left shoulder, solar plexus, neck, and head. The light-haired knight says that he has 5 magical circles, so he will strike 5 places, but he needs Alto to hit 2 of them, the right shoulder and the base of the right wing, and Alto confirms that he understands. Then the blonde knight shouted, "Here he comes." Alto shouted, "Fire spear," and the 2 of them rushed into a synchronized attack. From different sides, coordinated attacks fall upon the zombie dragon. Fiery spears pierce its body and explosively hit the most vital points. Alto wonders if it worked. It seems to him as if everything happened simultaneously. The surroundings could not fail to notice. Their coordination is incredibly perfect for an improvised pair, as befits a knight and a high-ranking adventurer. But suddenly, the blonde knight exclaimed that it was in vain. He still could not completely destroy the courtyard. Alto froze in shock. The light-haired knight explains that the thickness of the flesh and the height are different, so just hitting them simultaneously is not enough. Alto shouts that they need to break it and expose the core. But someone throws in, even if they manage to expose it, it will simply instantly regenerate, and another voice adds that they will have to deliver 7 attacks at once to first open the core. Someone says that after that, they will have to strike with 7 simultaneous attacks. The light-haired knight reacts with amazement at the incredible complexity of this plan. But suddenly, the blonde knight shouted that they have to do it. He calls on everyone to help him. Alto and the others confirm that they are joining. The blonde knight declared that he sees all 7 cores, and immediately someone shouted to everyone, "Destroy them all at once." Alto and the others rushed into a coordinated assault, shouting, "Fire spear," as several attacks simultaneously struck the zombie dragon. Someone shouts that they destroyed a core, and another instantly responds with a resolute, "No." The blonde knight confirms with a heavy heart, "In vain." Alto understands, the more people there are, the harder it is to hit at the right moment. Alto declares that he will repeat this as many times as necessary, and the blonde knight firmly replies that he stands beside him. The exhausted fighters near the city gate are barely holding on. Alto anxiously notices that everyone has already used their highest level skills dozens of times, and now they are almost out of mana accuracy is rapidly falling. The light brown-haired knight anxiously asks what they will do now. But then Alto calls him over and asks to be allowed to do it. The light-haired knight turns and asks Alto if he has many magic circles. Alto admits he has only one magic circle, just one. The light-haired knight sharply waved it off, implying there is nothing to talk about, but Alto does not back down. He swears he can simultaneously release 7 skills and asks for just one chance to prove it. The light-haired knight looked skeptically at Alto and thought to himself that a person without skills, with only one magical contour, is definitely good for nothing. Meanwhile, the light-haired knight tells Alto that they will try, thinking to himself that he has no options left anyway. Alto sincerely thanks him and is ready to prove what he is capable of. Someone throws a grim promise at Alto: "We will break through the flesh of the zombie dragon and expose their cores," and then orders him to simultaneously destroy all 7 of these cores. Alto confidently confirms that he understood. The light-haired knight rushes forward, shouts that he is going into battle, and launches a fiery spear at the very moment the coordinated assault begins. Several fighters simultaneously rushed into attack from different directions. The zombie dragon is bombarded with strikes, like Alto, and the light-haired knight conducts a synchronized attack. Powerful explosions erupt across the battlefield as their strikes converge on the huge undead creature. And then someone shouts that all 7 cores are out, and another voice desperately pleads for their automagic to work. Alto activates his skill and commands, "Fireball X7." The blonde knight froze in shock, realizing that Alto really fired 7 shots simultaneously. Someone else is clearly stunned by what they see. Alto focuses intensely, determined to make all his attacks hit exactly at the same time. Alto's thoughts race. He is completely focused. He must strike the dragon with 7 fireballs, and the target does not stop moving. This is his moment to show what days of continuous orbit control training give. And failure for him is simply not an option. Then someone orders him to go. Outro. Machine filled with robots bursts into close combat and directly attacks the dragon zombie. The creature roars and tries to counterattack. But Alto does not let this interfere. He resolutely says he will not stop and attacks even harder. Meanwhile, the blonde knight commander watches Alto closely in the heat of battle and cannot understand. This guy was supposed to be crushed already, but he didn't even flinch. He notices Alto's incredible concentration as he approaches and strikes the dragon zombie with destructive force. 7 fireballs simultaneously hit the targets. All 7 cores explode simultaneously, and shockwaves pierce the huge body of the dragon zombie. With each destroyed core, the creature is torn apart by a series of powerful explosions, and the observers below watch with bated breath as the coordinated attack succeeds. A gigantic flash erupted across the battlefield. The zombie dragon finally fell. The observers are shocked and overwhelmed with emotions as the dust settles. The creatures lie scattered on the ground, and Alto stands amid the debris, quietly confirming that he really did it. The spectators froze. Someone shouted that Alto really brought down the zombie dragon. The blonde knight skeptically asks if he is really serious. Another spectator admits that he cannot believe Alto pulled it off, and someone adds that they have never seen anyone use 7 skills simultaneously, marveling at how precise Alto's trajectory was. The blonde knight approached Alto, admitted that he himself would not have managed it, and thanked him for the help, then asked Alto to say his name, albeit a bit late for an introduction, to which Alto quietly replied that his name is Alto. Meanwhile, nearby someone proudly says that he is the one who won that duel the other day and finished it instantly, and the light-haired knight pronounces the name, sounds familiar. And Alto calmly, measuredly confirms this. The light-haired knight admitted that he had heard rumors, but seeing such skill in action, he acknowledged Alto truly deserves the title of knight, and added that even a knight cannot cast 7 spells simultaneously. Alto thanks him, but also himself, because he can actually release 16 at once, though he keeps silent about it. The crowd gathered around Alto at night, celebrating the victory. People shouted that a hero was born in the city, cried out that they survived thanks to Alto, and showered him with blessings. In the palace, Princess Charlotte reports to the man at court that Lord Alto's mission was a complete success, and he remarks, Alto really defeated the sealed S-level boss, just think, it's simply insane. Charlotte reads out the report about the knight that accompanied Alto on the mission. The knight recorded, Alto's skill, his courage, focus, and ability to work in a team were impeccable, and he sincerely wished to serve alongside him as an equal knight. Princess Charlotte declared that the results are truly impressive, and they must do whatever it takes to make Alto a knight, no matter what. The man official fully agreed without hesitation. Then someone reports that the boss they defeated was initially sealed with a permanent seal, but they add that they found traces as if someone removed it, and this is clearly suspicious. Meanwhile, in the palace corridor, Princess Charlotte and the man official discuss the whole matter. He says he heard from the escort knight that they broke into the boss's sealed room. Someone adds that Alto himself broke the barrier, and the official assures Charlotte that the real culprit and evidence will soon come to light. The man official reported that the culprit turned out to be a man named Eraso, the same one who fought a duel with Lord Alto, and confirmed. As Princess Charlotte suspected, Eraso was immediately arrested. Princess Charlotte ponders this and reflects on the insult hidden behind it all. The man official told Princess Charlotte that this was exactly what he expected, so he already summoned the military police and sentenced Eraso to 20 years of hard labor in the mines. Meanwhile, Salido sits at the table laughing to himself, thinking about how to help. Everything went perfectly, the boss is just glowing with satisfaction, and he thinks, if that guy fails his quest, Erasalito himself will become a knight. But suddenly, the military police burst into the room. Someone shouted that the military police are arriving and ordered everyone not to move. Erasalito is completely stunned when officers surround him, and the military police grimly announce he is under arrest for removing the seal from the S-level boss and putting the city at risk. Erasalito desperately protests, demands to know why he is being arrested, insists it must be some mistake. He stalls, asks what evidence they have, and assures he is innocent. But the officers tell him not to waste energy resisting and show that all the evidence is here. Erasalito continues shouting that it must be a mistake as they drag him away. Meanwhile, in the palace, officials quietly discuss. They also detain the guild master Eraso. It turned out both men are also charged with bribery and abuse of power, so harsher punishments await them. Someone remarked with relief that fortunately, they managed to get rid of him before he could threaten Master Alto, and the male official fully agreed. Then the knight announced that Master Alto has arrived. Princess Charlotte orders to let him in. Alto enters and Princess Charlotte greets him. Long time no see. Thank you for protecting the city from that mad boss. Then Princess Charlotte smiles and tells Alto that she heard he defeated an opponent whom even knights could not overcome with a single strike, and that his skills already surpass those of knights. Alto modestly replied that they only won because he worked together with everyone. City representatives present Alto with his award, and Princess Charlotte announces that because of his feat in completing this quest and saving the city, he has finally been officially granted permission to take the knight qualifying exam. Alto is overwhelmed with gratitude and showers them with thanks one after another. Princess Charlotte tells Alto that she is confident he will succeed and hopes that when he becomes a knight, he will lend the strength of her squad. She sincerely wishes for him to excel in everything. Alto enthusiastically replied that it is a true honor for him, and he will do everything possible to meet her expectations. Princess Charlotte sincerely wishes him luck there. In a few days, Alto arrives at the Royal Knight Academy. Before him towers a massive building with turrets and towers. Students stroll around the grounds, and he raises his eyes and gazes admiringly at the place. Then they explain how the academy system works. During the month-long knight qualifying exam, Alto will be treated the same as a Knight Academy student, and students are divided into two types: regular Academy students and recommended commoners. During classes held between exams, students not only master practical techniques, the Knight turns into a school of essential skills. Alto walks through the academy grounds, noble students cast glances at him, and he is troubled by the thought of what it will be like to live in the dormitory during exams. Meanwhile, the elite from all over the country have gathered here to hone their skills, and reality struck him. He will not become a knight unless he surpasses each of them. Alto decides to simply do his own thing quietly and skillfully, as always, then looks around trying to understand where the orientation is at all. Suddenly, one of the staff tells Alto and the others that the briefing officer will appear soon, so they will have to wait a little longer. Alto stands in the corridor with a serious expression on his face, and gradually it dawns on him that the very fact of getting into the Royal Knight Academy does not mean that everyone will become knights. Everyone here is a rival. Imagine this, the knight selection is held only once, and that right in the middle of the third year. Alto heard that graduates would not have to look for a job. The title of academy graduate opens doors, but the thing is, if they fail, they will carry the burden of not becoming knights for their whole life. Alto walks alone, and the thought does not cease in his head that not long ago becoming a knight seemed completely impossible to him. His thoughts involuntarily drift to Lily, the girl who transferred in the middle of another semester. If everything had gone well for her, she would have long since finished her studies and become a knight. Suddenly someone called Alto. He turned around and immediately realized that somehow he found himself at the very same exam as Lily, only a year later. A fleeting thought passed. If you don't give up, the chance really comes back. Meanwhile, students in the background whisper about that nepotistic son, whom everyone is talking about. The blonde nobleman approaches Alto with a smug, condescending smile and introduces himself as Bon Bon, heir of House Bon, and a current student of the Royal Academy of Knights. Alto simply briefly says who he is. But then Bon Bon tells Alto that he wonders what dirty tricks someone like him could have used to get his recommendation. Alto thought that dealing with guys like that is pure exhaustion, so he decided to just brush it off and noted that survival skills, honed back in the Black Guild, come in handy in this situation. Then Bon Bon addresses Alto. Allow me to look at your magical affinity with my evaluation skill. Alto understands that with higher-level magic of assessment, one can discern others' abilities, but he is sure this is a serious breach of etiquette, and Bond applies his assessment skill on Alto. And his eyes widen in shock when he sees only one magical contour. Bond mutters something about a pathetic result. The students around them began to gossip loudly. Someone shouted that with a single barrier Alto was doomed and asked how he even planned to attack, while others meanwhile laughed that even a commoner has more contours than he does. Then Bon Bon yelled at Alto, saying that a knight is someone higher, like him, and orders everyone to watch. He summoned his fireball with magic and put on a truly spectacular show. And the students around them immediately began to praise him enthusiastically, saying, as expected from Lord Bon mastering 5 magical circles simultaneously with such impressive precision. Bond exclaimed, "This is the power of a man destined to become a knight." He mocks Alto, saying that one who can barely maintain even one barrier will never become a knight. Bond smiles smugly, as if Alto is stunned by the grandeur of his magic. Alto only smiles calmly and asks if Bond is really boasting about hitting with only 5 fireballs, and to himself, he thinks that he considered the princess's words mere flattery, but maybe he really can stand up for himself, even with the power he has now. The nobles, embarrassed and angry at his confidence, demand to know what he is so happy about, and say, if he claims he has no patrons above, let him prove it. Someone asks how many times Alto has to hit the target and throws him a challenge, if you think you can try. Alto simply says, the time of the fireball is 16. And then he pronounced the spell, and instantly 16 fireballs burst out and flew towards the training targets. A huge barrage of fireballs hit the targets with devastating accuracy. And the nobles who were watching just stood there, frozen in complete shock, while Bond and the rest were going crazy, shouting that it was impossible. 5. No, wait, 16 at once, this just can't be. Then someone sharply demands to know what exact trick Alto used. Bond just yells at him, "Don't feed me this nonsense." He says that there is no way he could have pulled this off without cheating. Alto calmly replies that he did not cheat at all. Alto says if he had to explain, he assumes that his unique skill is essentially his cheat. Someone shouts that he only has one magic contour and falls silent, not believing it. Someone else grumbles about how noisy it has become here. Asks what the hell is going on. Suddenly, a stern-looking man steps forward and introduces himself as Arthur. It seems he was appointed the examiner of this selection. The students recognize him instantly and, with admiring voices, ask if this is really Captain Arthur, the same prodigy who became the youngest captain in history. Arthur seriously explained that he would immediately get down to business. The exam has 3 rounds: individual, dungeon, and team battles, and he will award the emblem to those he considers worthy of the required level. Alto notices that Arthur here seems like a real star. Arthur continues to analyze the structure of the exam. There are 3 emblems in total: the emblem of diligence, the emblem of flexibility, and the emblem of teamwork. Whoever collects all 3 will earn the right to become a knight and take the exam. He says simply, in general, candidates should try to earn 1 emblem in each of the 3 exams. The diagram shows a chain battle in the dungeon, team battle, and individual battle, which all fits Alto as a participant. But if abilities are recognized, several emblems can be awarded in one exam. At least on paper, the system works that way. Arthur continues and gives one piece of advice. Every year there are those who think they can slack off until the final exam and immediately snatch all three emblems, but the emblems do not go to those who think so naively. He adds that if someone cannot give their all in the first test, then there is almost no chance they will improve for the next one. He says this is from a person who is supposedly considered elite even among knights. Alto thought to himself that they would have to earn this recognition, and it would be a difficult exam. Meanwhile, a group of noble students stands together and listens. Arthur finishes the briefing. The exams are in a week, and they will be solo, one-on-one, where everyone will fight everyone. Matches will be announced only on the day of the exam, so that's all for today, and he dismisses them. A week later, the arena of the royal palace is packed with spectators. Alto recalls the past week since he got unlimited access to the training field in his free time. Finally, he could do much more practical exercises than when he was stuck in the forest. And all this time until today, constant auto magic was working, and the sessions allowed him to ask advice from a pro, so all this was much more effective than just studying alone. So he met this day in great shape, and the level of his fire magic really increased for the first time in a long time. And suddenly someone shouted, "Alto." Lily rushes to him, full of energy, and Alto immediately recognizes her. Lily joyfully greets him, exclaiming, "Long time no see." They meet in the arena waiting room, where other students have already gathered. Alto greeted Lily and said with a smile that she really has become a knight. Lily thanks him, saying that he has finally come this far too. As his junior, Lily sincerely wished Alto good luck in the future. Alto says that her skills are indeed impressive and explains, although a lot happened, he still managed to get a recommendation from the princess. Alto tells her that as her senpai, he will do everything he can. Then another noble student approached them, called Alto, and said in surprise that he didn't know Alto knew a knight, and Alto just briefly greeted him. Meanwhile, a noble student notices Alto in the arena corridor and tells him that it seems they are opponents in today's match. Suddenly another noble student shouted at Alto. He will prove once and for all that Alto is not some cheater and expects him to give his all today. Bonbon, heir of the Bon house, stood among other nobles. One of them declared that there was not even a 1 in a million chance of losing, and Bonbon proudly agreed for he was the heir of his lineage. But Alto stands aside and wonders where did they get such confidence from. Someone silently watches this scene. Suddenly a large, older man in formal attire appears, and Bonbon rushed to him, shining with excitement, and asked if Duke Vilo had visited him. The man confidently confirms that he is Bonbon, and the signature names him Duke Vilo, minister of the royal court. Bonbon sincerely thanks him, but Duke Vilo sternly warns, "Do not let me down." He places great hopes on Bonbon as a son. He adds that Bonbon should not worry after all. This man is his father's superior, and the father himself is truly an exceptional person. Meanwhile, Alto stands aside, watching and slowly digesting the whole scene. Everyone silently watches as Duke Villa walks away down the corridor. Then Bonbon aggressively turns to Alto. Someone demanding asked if he saw how he boasted that his lineage, the House of Bones, has the court's trust. Another student picked up, "Trust is everything for a knight." Suddenly a bald man dramatically bows or kneels in the middle of the arena. Bonbon shouts that he carries the hopes of the dukes. He is much more a knight than Alto will ever be, but then someone asks them to excuse the interruption. A dignified man in luxurious royal robes appeared in the corridor, and the noble students froze in shock. The caption says that this is King Lawrence, father of Queen Charlotte, and the king himself remarked that it seems many are taking the exam again this year. Then someone, apologizing for disturbing before their exam, asks everyone to ignore him and continue as before. Alto froze, stunned. What is the king doing in such a place? Bonbon was even more stunned, barely managing his thoughts. He couldn't believe that the king himself was in front of him. Suddenly Bonbon rushed forward, exclaiming that it was a great honor for him to meet His Majesty for the first time. He says that the House of Bone has served the royal family for generations, and the minister even respects his father very much. But the king addressed Alto directly. He says the daughter has told him a lot about him, and he has long been waiting to see him in action. Alto reacts with surprise. A small frame flashed in his memory. Charlotte was standing there, next to the king. Then Charlotte waved to Alto, wishing him luck. The king apologized for interrupting right before the exam, but Alto enthusiastically replied that he would do his best. The royal retinue began to leave, and the students in the corridor and in the arena looked at them as if enchanted. Meanwhile, Bonbon froze, his face twisted with shock and anger, and behind him students whispered, puzzled. "Strange, why are the king and princess chatting with some magical circle and also with a swindler?" Suddenly someone asks, "Is everyone gathered?" The official representative loudly announced, "We are heading to the arena, everyone follow me." The group moved down the corridor as they walked. The noble students whispered among themselves, and someone muttered that only because Alto is taking the night selection by royal recommendation, they treat all of them differently. As a nobleman, he declares that he must make sure Alto is given a proper lesson. Meanwhile, another noble student notes that if the king is showing such attention, then he must have resorted to some cunning trick. In the arena, Arthur stands behind the official podium and addresses the gathered crowd, announcing that now the individual duels of the qualifying exam begin. Whoever strikes the opponent first wins. The announcer's voice rang out, the first duel Alto versus Bond. The noble student orders them to step forward. Alto and Bonbon step onto the arena floor. Tensely lined up for the duel, Bonbon and Alto face each other in the arena, and Arthur stands between them as the judge. Meanwhile, in the stands, one student boasts that Alto supposedly tricked everyone with his tricks last time, but in a real fight that won't work, and a burly noble student confidently shouts that he will take down Alto in 2 seconds. Suddenly, the announcer's voice loudly echoed throughout the arena and ordered them to start the duel. The duel begins instantly, and Bonbon is the first to launch an attack, shouting his spell that unleashes a blizzard to kill Alto. He mockingly calls Alto a fool, and with a proud smile, insists that a mid-level skill will never defeat his high-level skill. But Alto immediately responds, activating the Fire Spear X16. 2 magical strikes collide in the very center of the arena, and Alto's fiery spear completely overpowers Bonbon's ice attack. A hail of burning spearheads breaks through the blizzard and rushes forward with devastating force, while Alto calmly strides through the magical destruction as his attack dominates the battlefield, and the noble students in the stands fall silent in awe at the spectacle. Meanwhile, Bonbon is in complete shock, barely comprehending what he saw. He stammers and whispers that this is Fire Lance Rain, a top-level skill, and the attack crashes into him. He screamed as the flames struck. Suddenly, Bonbon collapsed to the ground, defeated. He lies on the arena floor because he was mistaken. He took Alto's multiplied mid-level spell for a true top-level skill. And the duel ended in mere seconds. Alto's barrage of fiery spears tore through the arena with destructive power. The magical blade sliced through stones and debris, raising a storm of destruction. Bonbon could not withstand the pressure at all. Knocked to the ground and crushed in mere seconds. Meanwhile, the noble students in the stands are in complete shock. One stammers in disbelief. Lord Bone, one of the best in their class, was instantly defeated, and another nobleman cannot even comprehend what just happened. Bonbon lies on the ground in utter despair, shouting that he lost to such a vile cheat as Alto. The aristocratic student immediately accused Alto of another fraud and called him a coward. But the dark-haired noble student coldly interrupts the protests and says, even if it was deception, on the battlefield those who are alive win. The announcement loudly echoed across the arena, Alto the winner. Duke Vilo can hardly believe his eyes at what he has seen, and another noble student froze speechless. The heir of the Bone lineage was destroyed in an instant, and the official steps forward to present the end to Alto, the emblem a memory of the efforts that allowed passing the first round. Wasting no time, Arthur announces the next duel. Gregory Burns and Mia Knight are called forward. 2 students take their places in the arena, ready for the duel. Meanwhile, a student in the stands watches. It looks like a fight between a small animal and a wild beast. Arthur gives the command, let the duel begin. Gregory Burns instantly rushes into attack, shouting, sand shot. But Mia instantly replied. To protect herself, she summoned the ice wall, and a magical barrier appeared. When she directs her spell, a magical circle emerges right in front of her. Gregory responds with the stone hammer, La, launching a powerful magical attack directly at her. Mia dodges but hits it again. Gregory uses sand shot again, releasing a hail of sand projectiles directly at her, and Mia screams as the attack hits her heart. She fights desperately against Gregory's relentless assault. The announcement suddenly declared, the winner is Gregory Burns. It turned out that the opponent was better both in magic speed and accuracy. Students in the stands whisper that he is a real slowpoke. One nobleman laughs and says he would like to face him himself, and Gregory Burns stands victorious. Meanwhile, Mia remains lying on the ground between him and another student. Alto stands aside and silently watches as Mia lowers her eyes, upset. Meanwhile, Arthur dismisses everyone for today, says good job, and adds that the second exam is in 2 weeks. Details will be announced later. Students whisper among themselves, wondering how it happened that less than a third of the entire group managed to get the emblem. Alto thoughtfully watches as the crowd disperses. The second exam is a dungeon crawl. He should be more experienced than the students of the Night Academy, but dungeons always throw surprises. He understands if it will be like this every time, almost no one will become a knight. Then Alto heads to the training ground, determined to be fully prepared. Alto arrives at the training ground immediately after the exam, and as he thought, it is empty there. Suddenly he notices something, and in the distance recognizes Mia. Two boys are next to her. Meanwhile, at the training ground, two boys approach Mia and mock her. One sarcastically says that she is still training after failing, and the other laughs and insists that training is a waste of time because she was last. One boy tells Mia that she should know her place and asks if she is not ashamed. The other mutters that maybe she is so stupid that she doesn't even understand where she stands. Alto interrupts and asks who among them really should be blushing. The boys turn to him embarrassed and ask what his problem is. Alto sharply remarks, even immediately after the exam, Mia was the first to rush to training, and he asks which of them should really be ashamed. He reproaches them for mocking someone who works with all their might, saying they are violating the chivalry code. Meanwhile, Alto recalls the 3 years since he gained the right to the ability he constantly trained and did not break, although he heard countless such words. He knows better than anyone how painful it is and what a miracle it is to never give up. The students suddenly recognize Alto. One realizes he is from the external exam, another says he has never seen his face, but he boasts so brazenly. But then one of them puts it all together. It was he who knocked down Bonbon with a single blow. Alto thought about the school. He knew there would be many nobles there, but it still worried him. Mia approached Alto, sincerely thanked him, and introduced herself. I am Mia Knightley, a student of the Knights Academy. Alto smiled and told her that it was not something to be thanked for at all. Mia says that today she saw his duel. His magic was so refined and amazing that she asks Alto how she can become as strong as he is. Alto asked Mia if she has any magic in which she is truly strong. After all, he will not say anything until he sees her ability with his own eyes. Mia replied that her highest level is a unique skill. Alto was so excited that he asked if she could show it to him. But Mia asks if Alto could instead make a few sparks hang in the air. Alto agrees and throws a fireball. Then Mia quickly responded with a dispersing shot. Alto froze in shock, watching as his magic completely disappeared without a trace. Alto simply cannot believe what just happened. He has read mountains of books about unique skills, but has never heard of anything like this before. Muir explains, this is called magic resolve when a small ball pierces the magical core of a skill and extinguishes it. And at that moment Alto felt the incredible power she possesses. Muir admits she cannot control it properly, and that last shot was just pure luck. The single waves of their skills interfere with each other and shift the trajectory, so on bad days even 100 shots might not hit once. Alto perfectly understands that raising the skill level is one thing, but skillfully using it is a completely different matter. He suggests that Mia practice on him. Mia looks surprised at the offer, but at the same time worries whether she really hit Alto. Alto tries to calm her down. He says that he once suffered himself because he could not control several skills at the same time. He believes that it is difficult until you face magic with magic and feel it by touch, and then admits that he starts to get confused somewhere near the guest area. But explains that his unique skill allows him to subconsciously keep it turned on. It shoots every time along the same trajectory and with the same power, as evidenced by his equally accurate second shots. Alto notes that this is perfect for training, since every shot here is really without exclamations and identical. Mia sincerely thanks him and says that she is already beginning to understand how it is done. Alto gladly responds with agreement. Mia enthusiastically agrees. Alto decisively announces that it is time for them to start training. The training continues, says Alton. He stands on the training field, several fireballs hovering around. To him, Mia shouts, uttering the spell shoot, and she shoots one of them with her magical ball that neutralizes magic. The shot passed close, barely touching one of Alto's magical spheres. After 30 minutes, Mia collapses to the ground completely exhausted. Germana's reserves are completely depleted. Alto apologizes for keeping her there so long, but adds that this is training for him too. Mia asks in surprise if Alto has a bigger monopoly. He uses many more skills than she does, and Alto honestly admits that at first he was worse at magic than everyone else. Then he says that Mia clearly put in real effort, because mono capacity actually has nothing to do with magical abilities. Suddenly Mia bows deeply before Alto and asks him to take her as an apprentice. The request completely caught Alto off guard. Mia raised her eyes with determination and said she wants to become as strong as he is. Mia bitterly thinks about her situation. She is always at the very end of the class and failed this exam again. The words of others echo in her head. They say she's so weak that she is not even fit for practice, and she finished last again. But despite everything, Mia passionately says she wants to become someone who can believe in her own strength. Even though weak, she will put in as much effort as Alto. Alto sympathizes with Mia. Her struggle is so similar to the one he once went through. Although he thinks he really won't be able to teach her anything, Alto still accepts her request and says he is counting on her. Mia warmly thanks him and offers to help. She will show people around the school and handle daily chores, giving all her strength, even though she cannot repay with a great favor. Alto admits that he is completely lost on campus, so that would really help, and Mia enthusiastically agrees. In 2 weeks, the second exam begins right in the dungeon, and over the next few days 5 people will try to pass it every day. Mia watches as the participants gather and worries, will everything be all right with Alto? Meanwhile, one of the examiners smirks and thinks about how much longer Alto will last. In the dungeon, someone laughs and says they haven't been in the dungeon for a long time and how much they like it. They chat that the exam location changes from day to day, and another adds that this way students won't be able to draw maps and cheat, because the dungeon is in a different place each time. Before this scene, the second exam begins. The examiner announces that the knights take on different tasks, escorts, dungeon raids, and this time the students will have to storm the dungeon itself. Alto recalled the details and felt, the body is heavy, skills weaker than usual. He realized that the dungeon itself applies a debuff. This time its goal is to check how well they can adapt. Even for the organizers, letting high-rank monsters into the test dungeon is a big risk, so the debuff is quite logical. This way they check how students cope in a weakened state. Alto descends to the dungeon entrance. He is glad that everything is going smoothly. This time he constantly scans with his auto magic for traps and enemies. Alto sneaks through the dungeon floors, aiming to find the rarest item in these parts, and the treasure on the last floor is probably it. He reaches the stairs leading down and notices that they are already almost on the 10th floor. Then Alto activates his detector, and it instantly triggers. A map with the marked destination appears on the screen. He thought to himself that they were clearing it quite quickly. Alto successfully passed the dungeon and safely returned to joyfully report that his task was completed. The examiners note his endurance is more than sufficient. One examiner looks into a far-sighted crystal and confirms that Alto's choice and pace were perfectly balanced. Alto is marked as passed. He thanks them for the evaluation. Suddenly, someone shouted. Alto is accused of blatant cheating. The accuser loudly insists that no novice like Alto could have passed this dungeon and insists he definitely cheated. Alto calmly, firmly denies he did nothing of the sort. Meanwhile, Duke Vilo exploded in rage, shouting that the results strengthen the princess's faction. His subordinates panic and apologize. They do not want His Highness to be dissatisfied. Duke Willow firmly stated that he counts on them and believes they will not let him down. He swears that his son will pass first to raise the prestige of the princess's faction, and vows that in the next exam he will definitely overthrow Alto. Someone said that Duke Vilo definitely slipped a debuff to Alto to disable him after all. His father personally hired underground professionals. Another voice sharply objects. They say Alto definitely had someone from outside who buffed him, and even calls him a coward, insisting that with a debuff that reduces endurance, he could not have passed a high-difficulty dungeon. But then an official intervenes, says that during the exam he watched Alto through a remote crystal and saw nothing suspicious, and asks what exactly was unfair about his performance. And the nobleman remains stammering, without an answer. The senior nobleman asks Bon Bon if he has any reason to believe that Alto cannot be bribed. Bon Bon looks irritated but does not answer directly. The organizer announces that the test continues and calls the next participant Mia Knightley. Someone nervously confirms that they are continuing. Bon Bon confidently steps away, and his comrades anxiously ask if everything is all right and if anyone found out about the cheating. Before the next test, Alto happily congratulates Mia on passing and encourages her, try your best. Mia promises to give it her all. Later at the training ground, Mia says that she has been training hard for 2 weeks without a break, so she should be fine. Alto agrees. But still, when he sees her entering the dungeon alone, he can't shake off an obsessive anxiety. Several hours pass, and Alto notices that Mia has been staying there for quite a long time. Meanwhile, in the dungeon, Mia fights with all her might, giving everything she has to the battle. Then finally, right in front of her appears the armored examiner, who directly says that she is unfit and lacks the necessary skills, explaining, if the dungeon considers someone incapable of passing it, that person is automatically returned to the entrance. Suddenly, Alto sees Mia being ejected from the dungeon, and he instantly rushes to her, asking if she is okay. Mia only quietly mutters that it is impossible. Now everything is very bad. She failed 2 out of 3 exams, so in the final test she needs to earn 3 emblems just to pass. Despite everything, Mia tells Alto that she will not give up yet. She thanks him for worrying about. She pushes him away and stubbornly says that everything is fine. Alto just looks at her, holding a cookie. It was completely impossible to find the right words. When the second test ended, the examiner addressed everyone and announced the final exam. In a week, they would face a team battle in which students would form pairs for a training duel. The rules are simple. If someone's barrier is broken, they are considered out of the fight. When both members of a team are out, the team loses. The examiner notices that quite a few people have already given up, left without any emblem. Usually anyone was allowed into the night selection, but now everything has changed sharply. The examiner continued, explaining that everyone who came to the place today will be divided into teams for the third trial. The opponents will be named only on the day of the match itself, and the day before it will be given to preparation. He rejects everyone as. The students disperse. Someone notices that there are significantly fewer people than in the first test, now less than half remain. Mio notices it turns out that most people do not have any emblem at all. Mia asks hopefully, is there still a chance that next time someone will succeed if they try 3 more times? Could it happen? Alto says that among those who did not get an emblem, there were quite a few people who simply gave up, even after passing the first and second exams. Mia says that her elder said exactly that, adding that such cases did not happen before. Alto replies that if the chances are almost zero, it is quite understandable why people give up. Mia silently looks at him for a moment, and then Alto tells her that even so, she should be proud that she is still here. Meanwhile, on the training ground, Mia casts the spell shot, and the spell almost hit the target. Someone notices how close it was. The young student notices that she still can't reach the intermediate level, and although the spell works at close range, this approach is too dangerous. Mia sincerely thanks Alto and happily says that now her accuracy is better than before. Alto shouted to her, adding that they also found out. Accuracy changes depending on skill level, so someone suggested continuing to adjust everything like this before the third test. Suddenly, an elderly nobleman in ceremonial court attire approaches, with an official badge visible on his chest. Alto notices the badge of someone from the court and thinks with interest, who could that be? The nobleman says he found where they were. Mia raises her eyes in shock and suddenly realizes this is her father. Alto suddenly recognizes him as Count Niter, Mia's father. The Count said he heard that Mia failed the night exam twice. Mia quietly confirmed this. The Count continues, saying that everyone at court is whispering about this and wondering if she still intends to continue. He says that they call her a fool, saying the daughter of Count Niter has no talent to become a knight. Alto steps forward and asks the Count to wait a moment. Mia tries to apologize, saying she is trying very hard. But the Count stubbornly asks who is this Alto. He asks if he really believes that only effort can make someone a knight, and says that no matter how hard a person tries, only results matter, and this disgrace is already beginning to stain the whole family, while Mia looks on anxiously. Alto begins to object, but the Count sharply interrupts him and sternly says, nobles have their own roles and duties. Then he sternly tells them, do not disgrace our family name anymore. Then the Count issued an ultimatum. If Mia fails all the exams, she will be expelled. Mia just stands and looks at him in complete shock. After Count Nitri left, Alto sits on the steps. He recalled how the Count placed his figure and then simply laid it down. Mia sits next to him, completely hopeless, explaining that her father is always like that. She complains that no one expects anything from her because she was unlucky with magical talent. Her father was initially categorically against her joining the Knight Academy. Even after she enrolled, she could not pass the exams, one failure after another. But despite everything, she still wants to keep trying. Mia declares people said she would never become a knight, but she wants to prove that her father was wrong. Alto sincerely shares her determination. Meanwhile, in the royal courtroom, Duke Vilo meets Bonbon with indignation, accusing him of failures, saying he had such hopes for him, but he has already let him down twice. Bonbon sincerely and fervently apologized, repeating that he is truly sorry. The Duke reminds him that next is the final trial and there is no turning back, and Bonbon swears that this time he will succeed. Meanwhile, the Duke grumbled inwardly, what a stubborn scoundrel Alto is. The Duke asks what the specific plan is, coldly remarking that talking is easy, action is needed. Someone says that the final exam is a team battle, and at first Alto will be paired with the weakest student. First, they mention that hopeless girl everyone talks about. Then, as expected, they add even more poison and have prepared something special that only an antidote can cure. The Duke says with a cold smile that the poison is rare and carefully prepared. It emphasizes the thoughtfulness of the plan. Meanwhile, outside, Alto and Mia walked side by side. Mia thought with surprise that she never expected to be paired with Alto in the final exam, and Alto smiled and replied that he didn't expect it either. He says that the opponents will be announced tomorrow, so there is no point in worrying now. Alto says to Mia with a smile that he is very glad to be her partner, and that, since they both know each other's fighting styles, it will be easy for them to act in unison. He encourages her. Tomorrow we will do everything possible together. Mia says she will try not to hold him back. Alto reassures Mia. She will manage because all her persistent training will come together and help save them. Mia only hopes he is right. Alto walks away, notices that the sun is already setting, and reminds that they need to rest. Tomorrow is the final exam. They need to be in perfect shape, and Mia agrees. But as Alto walked further, an unknown man approached him and asked if he could have a moment to talk. Mid the noise, someone asks Bon if he did something. Bon approaches Alto and says he really wants to make up for how he treated him. Alto was completely stunned by the unexpected apology. Bon sincerely apologizes and says that he was thinking all the time about how tomorrow he would finally become a knight, but looking back, he realized that he behaved with Alto very childishly. He continues that Alto is so talented that he simply could not resist competing, and since they might have to work side by side as fellow knights, it is not a problem at all. Bon asks Alto, please, allow me to apologize properly. Someone notes that tomorrow is the final exam, and even a training fan like Alto will take a break. Although it looks quite suspicious, Alto and Bon shake hands and Bon smiles. Let's go eat, I'll treat you at a popular restaurant. Alto says he is not in the mood at all, but understands. If they have to work together, unspoken resentment could spoil their joint work. Alto agrees if it's just to eat, then okay, and Bond is delighted. Great, let's go right now. They arrive at the restaurant, and Bond says, here it is, the very place. He says the chef is his acquaintance, so he will quickly go and greet him. After an hour, Bond asks if the food met expectations. Alto's expectations. Alto admits the food here is really on another level. Then Alto suggests resting a bit to be ready for tomorrow, and Bond agrees. Alto nods a little tensely, goes outside alone, and thinks that he managed to come back. It turned out he suddenly felt ill right during the meal, and wonders if Bond did something to him. Alto wonders if it's just a cold, but he also has dizziness, a sensation of spinning and chills. Meanwhile, in the exam arena, someone notices. Alto is late, but he is usually the one who acts first, not the one who shows up at the last minute. And suddenly Alto makes a dramatic appearance before the crowd. Mia calls him. Shocked by how pale his face looks, she asks, what happened? Alto admits that he looks like he caught a cold, but assures that everything is fine and he can still somehow fight. But Mia insists that she has never seen Alto so exhausted before and is sure something is definitely wrong with him. She gently asks him to approach Captain Arthur and requests to postpone his turn so he can finally rest a bit. Alto freezes for a moment, but thinks to himself, once I become a knight, I won't be able to allow myself breaks due to illness. It's part of the trial. Then Captain Arthur announces, now he will name the pairs for the first round. Captain Arthur announces the first match of the round, the Altomia Nitri team. In a duel with the team, Bon Gregory Barnes. Someone in the crowd instantly realized, this means Alto won't be able to rest since this is the first match. Another observer notices that Alto has to fight Bon, the one who is already sharpening his teeth on him and on Gregory, the one Mia previously could not defeat. Mia froze in complete shock at the announcement. Alto tells Mia that despite his condition, everything will be fine with them. And Mia reminds him, you will prove that father is wrong. She confirms this with admiration. Then in the arena, two teams stand opposite each other, and Alto, bent over, stands. It is clear that he is unwell and struggling. Gregory approaches, and his voice sounds exaggeratedly mocking. He asks Alto if he is okay and fake claps because of his condition. Alto understands what is happening and realizes with horror Gregory was involved in what Bond did to him. An official loudly announces the start of the match, and immediately Bond rushes into attack, creating fiery fields. Gregory joins the assault, and the combined magical attack crashed into the arena floor with a powerful explosion, raising clouds of dust and debris around. Mia desperately calls Alto, defend yourself. And Alto barely managed to react in his own way. We can order the managers to summon an ice wall, and a gigantic ice barrier bursts from the ground at the last moment to block the advancing attacks. Alto apologizes to Mia, barely catching his breath. It is clear that he is at the limit of his strength. Mia asks if he is okay, her voice full of concern, but Gregory just confidently laughed and said it would be easy. He immediately summons a rain of fireballs. A barrage of burning projectiles rains down across the entire arena directly towards Alto and Mia's position. Mia shouts and launches an ice volley. A hail of icy projectiles covers the entire arena. Alto, barely fighting his condition, groans and somehow activates Fireball's X-16 and a huge hail of burning spheres crashes onto the battlefield, and I. From the opposite side, the air filled with icy magic, and explosions tore across the arena floor, one after another, as the spells collided and hit. Alto warmly thanks Mia for her support. She replies that he always helps her, so it is only natural that now she helps him. And suddenly, the observer shouts out at the very moment when one of the opponents makes a move. Someone was hit so hard that the person flew across the entire arena. Mia instantly felt the danger and recognized it was Pincer's attack. She shouted that they would have to fight one-on-one. Meanwhile, one of their enemies launches sandpress, and massive earthen structures begin to rise around them. Someone immediately notices that Alto just used an advanced skill. Alto, despite his condition, tries to activate advanced fire earth. A struggle is going on inside him. He is too weak to properly gather mana. Mia anxiously calls Alto, then screams because things are getting worse. Alto receives a powerful hit from the attack. Gregory shouts for his spell to smash them. Alto realizes that the technique formation is complete, but he has no choice. He is forced to launch it, even though he has a problem with mono. Suddenly, a huge explosion erupts across the entire arena. The blow tore out a giant crater. In its very center lies Alto, and all of this is visible from a bird's eye view. Alto lies on the ground, in blood and with terrible injuries. Someone notices with surprise that he somehow avoided a direct hit, but the damage is still huge, and the explanatory text window says that auto magic also replaces the mono circle, and the mono that forms the skill depends on the user's condition. Gregory taunts Alto, asking what's wrong, shoots a sand bullet. Alto Grant stumbles upon Fireball and desperately dodges. He understands, if this turns into a battle of endurance, they will lose, and Alto is barely holding on from the pain and doesn't know when he will lose consciousness. He thinks strategically and does everything so that Mia does not end up in a 2-against-1 fight. Alto's face froze with determination. He decided that even if it costs him his life, he will take down Gregory. In the background, Mia continues to fight her opponent, and Alto commands his spell to activate the fire spear. Meanwhile, Gregory froze in complete shock at the enormity of the approaching attack and realized that it cannot be stopped without using a high-level skill. Desperately, Gregory summons Sand Press to defend himself, and 2 giant spells collided with explosive force, causing a colossal impact on the arena floor. Someone in the crowd loudly asked, did these attacks cancel each other out? But suddenly Alto launches another fire spear. Bond froze in complete shock when he realized there is another one, and Gregory screamed when a huge fiery spell hit him with explosive force. The attack throws Gregory into the air. He flies across the entire arena. Bond announced that Gregory was no longer able to act. Mia cannot believe her eyes at what just happened, and the spectators are shocked Alto managed to defeat the top-ranked Gregory, although he was poisoned. Someone in the crowd thought to themselves that this was to be expected from Alto. But suddenly the scene shows. Alto has fallen to the ground, and another figure is standing nearby. The announcer loudly declares that Alto is down. And Bond laughed, admitting that Alto really scared him for a moment. Bongrins and mockery, they shout that this is the end for Mia and call her a loser. And without her friend Alto, she is completely incapable of anything. On the arena, Alto lies unconscious, and Mia stands over him, protecting him. And she responded with a contemptuous snort. Meanwhile, Bond recalls, the plan was simple. Gregory and I were to exhaust Alto and finish him off when he weakened, and then easily take down Mia, but everything went off plan. Bond taunts Mia, disdainfully says that such a loser is nothing, and he will take her down himself, so he immediately summons the fire spear. While Mia defends herself with an ice wall. But she notices the power has become even stronger than before. Bond mocks her further, saying she hasn't earned a single emblem, and now it's pointless even to try. He tells her that she won't be able to win if she only defends. Mia mentally tells herself that she absolutely cannot lose this time. Not only her future is at stake, but also Alto's path to knighthood. Then Bond launches an attack. He was tormented that Mia's magic, mana, and skills were too weak, and he declared that it was time to show her the difference in class. And his barrage of fiery spears shattered Mia's ice defenses with incredible force. Suddenly someone realizes that Bond just used 5 intermediate skills at once. Mia stands in shock, and the crowd's reactions in the background merge into one blurred hum. She clenches her fists, and they tremble. With her current skill level, she simply has no chance to win, and her dream is about to shatter right here. Bond shouts, "See you, loser," and another huge attack rushes straight at me. But she notices something strange. Only one of the projectiles is flying directly at her. The attack hit someone, was knocked back, and slid across the arena floor. The warning comes too late. If someone masters an intermediate skill without a barrier, at best they get seriously injured, at worst. But the explosive strike throws me backward, and someone loudly shouts Alto's name. The frame pulls back and reveals the huge arena hall, where this entire battle is unfolding. Meanwhile, Mia's thoughts return again to memory. She had accidentally been at the ability ceremony, where Alto was declared talentless. He looked hopeless, weak, and shaky. She suddenly called out to him, but he didn't notice and just walked away. Both were born nobles, but their magical aptitude was low. And 6 months later, that same boy was kicked out of his home. She saw him training alone deep in the forest. Maybe she felt a little kinship with him, because both were considered burdens or nuisances. But despite the fact that her magical talent was weaker, and the conditions were harsher than hers, the light in Alto's eyes had not yet faded. Mia was the one who was constantly pitied, and who worried too much about the people around her. She was deeply moved by how he relentlessly moved forward without hesitation, and she did not even notice how she began to admire him. Even for a meager wage, he worked hard and rejected teammates who insulted him. Although his endurance should have long been exhausted, he still continued to train alone. Mia's thoughts did not subside. She could not allow herself to relax, living in better conditions than Alto. Encouraged by him, she took up training and worked desperately to catch up. Working alone and sparing no effort, she earned her ticket to the Royal Academy of Knights. Almost 3 years after enrollment, she forced herself to move forward despite the ridicule of those around her. That was exactly why she had no time to rest. When she noticed him at the briefing before the night qualifying exams, her heart jumped in her chest. When he showed his stunning skill, she felt he was from a completely different world and far surpassed her. When she saw how everyone recognized him, she was overwhelmed by a strange combination of joy and loneliness. She gathered courage for a lifetime to speak to him now he is her classmate, even when she shamelessly asked him questions. He was kind, and even with an anxious expression on his face, he thought seriously. His presence was the center of her heart, so she never broke. No matter what happened, she could move forward. And no matter what happened, she got up again. That is why this time they returned him to save him himself. Mia rushed forward down the icy slide, determination blazing in her eyes she would catch up to him. Then Mia's ice magic crashes with a roar into the binding attack, creating a huge explosion of magical energy. Bon yells at her to mind her own business, calls Alto a half-dead freak, and shots thunder from the collision. Two forces clash fiercely across the arena. Alto realizes he can hit at close range, but it is dangerous. Mia is convinced, this time it must end. At least she must protect Alto. She casts the spell's spellshot, and the magical projectile rushes straight toward Bon's dark energy sphere. The magical clash ignites when Mia's shot, dispelling the spell, collides with Bon's dark energy sphere. Bond reacts instantly, stunned by what just happened. Observers hold their breath, noticing how the technique completely disappears. Bond was confident that victory was guaranteed. He thought his magic was stronger, but now he cannot believe what is happening. Bond feels that something has changed. It is somehow easier for him to control magic, and the power within him grows. Rage engulfs him, and he shouts at Mia that she should know her place and should already be dead. They attack again, 2/5. Magical projectiles fly across the arena. The fighters fiercely exchange them. Several glowing magical spheres raced through the air between them as the fight intensified. Then they approach to engage in close combat. Mia notices a window and loudly says, "From this distance, my shot that dispels the spell will not miss." She aims directly at the dark sphere and opens fire. Bond screams as his barrier cracks, and he only watches in horror as his protective shield completely crumbles. And it was officially announced. The winners were Mia Knightley and Alto. Mia rushed to Alto, trying to wake him up. When someone explains that the antidote will deal with the poison that poisoned Alto and offers it, he will immediately feel better. Alto sincerely thanks everyone for their help, and learning about the poison, apologizes sadly. But suddenly someone from the crowd loudly accused Mia of cheating, saying that it was strange for a loser to suddenly become stronger, as if someone had boosted her after Alto fell. Meanwhile, observers noticed that Mia definitely had a buff that enhanced her control over magic, but this buff was activated even before Alto became powerless. Alto himself felt that something was wrong. Look at our notes, everything is within the rules, and there is no trace that Alto later activated any skill. Meanwhile, Bonner confusedly rubs his head and stubbornly insists that Alto never used a buff skill in the fight against them. Then from the stands came the booming voice of Duke Vilo. It is impossible for such a thing to happen in an instant. Someone explains that even if Alto applied a buff, Mia defeated Bon thanks to the pure strength she fought for with hard work, and adds that neither Bon nor his team could match Alto or Mia. But suddenly, the accusation turns against the accuser himself when. And here someone says, in fact, it was Bon who cheated. Bon stammers and decisively rejects the accusations, insists that he has no idea what they are talking about, and calls the fraud charges impossible. Officials stated, Bon's involvement in sabotage is already confirmed. Someone acted on the orders of Bond and his father. Bond desperately denies, says that none of this is true, and he has no idea what they are talking about. But the officials do not relent. They claim to know Bond also received money from Count Bourne, and that they discovered exactly how he obtained the poison used to poison Alto. It is shown how Bond is tightly bound. Government representative grimly declared, a man who wants to become a knight but poisons his rival deserves death. He orders them to take Bond away. Bond desperately screams, begging them to stop. Alto watches and thinks to himself why Bond went so far to get rid of him, and admits that after everything he has done, he cannot pity him. Bond shouts Dad, begging for help as he is dragged away. Then Captain Arthur apologizes to Alto and bitterly explains that he knew about his poisoning but deliberately did not intervene. He confesses this was also done to see the full extent of Alto's abilities and how he would handle the conspiracy. Alto takes on part of the blame. He allowed himself to be poisoned so easily. Arthur admits that Alto faced the situation head-on without hesitation and fought back. Then he notes that this time Alto strengthened his teammates and led them to victory. He proclaims that Alto deserves to receive the team's emblem of strength. Alto sincerely thanks him. Then Arthur calls me. He says he heard that her unique skill is useless and practically good for nothing. Mia quietly confirms that this is true. But then Arthur tells her that she believed in her own strength and never stopped moving forward to reach this moment, so he presents her with the emblem of effort. On Mia's face is genuine shock and sincere emotion as she receives recognition. Meanwhile, Captain Arthur turns to Alto and sincerely thanks him for his service. He shows how Alto faced the crisis head-on when his reliable comrade fell, and managed to brilliantly overcome it and completely change the course of events. The captain solemnly awards Alto the emblem of flexibility, a sign of his ability to adapt. The narrative shows how Alto, though born into nobility, never looked down on ordinary allies and cared for his comrades until the very end. Drawing strength from his brothers in arms, he demonstrated power far beyond his own limits. The leader tells someone that there is still room to grow, but places great hopes on this person. Mia raises her emblem, deeply moved having received the symbol of team spirit. She thanks them again and again. The observer smiled and greeted Mia. This is the result of all your hard work. Mia turns to Alto and insists that all of this is thanks to him. Suddenly Alto called out to Mia and pointed to someone in the crowd. Mia notices her father standing there and quietly addresses him. She loudly announces that she has become a knight. Count Nitri coldly replied, "So what?" stating that this has nothing to do with the Nitri family and waved it off. Do whatever you want. Alto tries to comfort Mia, explaining that her father simply cannot honestly say that he counts on her. Someone nearby reluctantly agrees. Alto continues, saying that he understands his own father was not like that either, and the memory of his father's eyes appears at the moment he left him. Mia pauses for a moment, thinking that it would be nice. With renewed determination, she says that she will work hard so that one day her father will truly acknowledge her. A month has passed since the night qualifying exam. Alto and Mia walk side by side in their new night uniforms. Mia smiles and says she never thought she would end up on the same team as Alto, and Alto nods in agreement. He says he was truly stunned when he heard the news. Usually new knights are assigned one per unit. Someone explains that this case is actually special. They say this is a new unit under the direct command of the princess, the 7th Royal Squad. And the captain is Captain Arthur. The voice continues. Arthur is a genius. He was appointed captain at the youngest age in history, so there must be some special reason for creating this squad. Alto is still processing this information when suddenly Lily appears and calls out his name. Alto immediately recognizes her and turns sharply. Lily was assigned to the 7th Royal Guard too. Lily, beaming with joy, exclaims to Alto, "I am so happy that we are on the same team." And Alto replies that he is happy too. Then Alto introduces me to two girls and says, "Here is my childhood friend Lily." Lily politely bows and introduces herself, and Alto adds, "It turned out that Mia is younger than Lily at the academy." Mia replied somewhat tensely, "Nice to meet you," and said that she already knows about Lily. But Lily adds with a piercing look that she actually knew about Mia since the ability ceremony. Alto explains that Mia is his companion who took the exam with him and passed. Someone asks if this means that Mia is a newcomer like Alto, and Lily excitedly says that she can't wait to work together. She extends her hand for a handshake, and Mia just stands there, shocked. She couldn't believe it. Alto had a childhood friend, and no one told her about it. Meanwhile, while they were talking outside, a new voice came from somewhere. Are you the new recruits? An older man with blonde, wavy hair and a mustache approaches in a formal night uniform. Alto mentally assessed him. The man was probably about 35, and he was definitely older than Lily. Alto introduced himself Alto and said that from today he was assigned to the 7th Guard. Mia simply introduces herself, Mia, and Lily also says her name. Then the older man introduces himself, Count Frankie Guilford, head of the Count's house and member of the 7th Guard. Someone notes that it is quite rare for a knight from the Count's house to serve directly. Meanwhile, Lily asks about the uniform, wondering if he is this year's best recruit. Alto thought to himself that recruits, it turns out, also receive knight uniforms. Then Count Frankie addresses them, saying that the night shift is idolized by all, and asks if they will join as the leading recruit. He understands their enthusiasm, but warns that night work is not easy. Alto reacted with surprise when Frankie said they are also called Arthur's Squad, and suddenly Frankie added that, although it is unexpected, he needs to check if they can handle the 7th Royal Guard. Count Frankie loudly announced that he will show them what true knightly strength is. Someone sighs and Alto wonders, why does it always end like this? The narration reveals the truth. This is just a demonstration fight. Two stand opposite each other at a distance. Count Frankie explained the rules. This is a traditional dueling, where everything is decided by one strike. If Alto's barrier cracks even slightly from the opponent's attack, he loses. Alto acknowledges the rules. Then Count Frankie announced that he would strike first and rushed into attack. Dragon's Breath, a huge attack, covers everything around, and Alto absorbs it. And the shock that Frankie instantly applied with his advanced skill. And the counting does not stop there. He immediately strikes with the sword, and taking advantage, finishes off with a devastating combination. Mighty Dragon Breath combined with a sword strike hit with explosive force. Count Frankie stares as stunned. His attack was somehow blocked. He is sure he would have been faster than Alto reacted, and cannot understand how it was stopped. Count Frankie realized, if it were a mid-level skill like Hail Shot, his fiery spear would have easily pierced it. Meanwhile, Alto lies wounded on the ground and sees. They pierced his barrier and even his fiery spear. The Count could not believe his own eyes, even with blurred vision. Alto counterattacked flawlessly, using power at the level of advanced admin is 1 or higher. Alto scans his auto-defense, which he set up after the lesson from the last fight. The code shows that if fire or water magic approaches within a certain distance, the system itself activates a counterspell to repel the attack, and when the auto-defense triggers, the Hail Shot spell immediately launches. Count Frankie approaches and asks, what is Alto doing? And Alto, stammering, whispered that he was just. When someone else comments, asking if Frankie tried to give the newbie a baptism, then waved it off and said, let it be. Then Captain Arthur introduced himself and announced that from today he is the captain of the 7th Royal Guard and their commander. Count Frankie notices the introductions are already behind, but Arthur decisively says that they are setting off to work right now. First, they will go to meet their boss, and he calls everyone to follow him. The group walks inside the royal palace. Alto recognizes this path, a strange feeling, as if he has been here before. They approach these luxuriously decorated doors, where 2 guards stand watch. And as soon as the doors open, someone in white appears just at the moment the group enters. Suddenly, Princess Charlotte cheerfully calls Alto, and he awkwardly replies, long time no see. And the princess enthusiastically greets him, exclaiming, from today you are a knight, and extends her hand to him. Meanwhile, in the background, Lily and Mia look stunned at this familiar exchange between Alto and the princess. Alto awkwardly thanks the princess, but Princess Charlotte insists that it was a dream that would never have come true without her recommendation. She firmly asserts that it would be simply unacceptable if such a talented person as Alto could not become a knight. In the background, Lily calls Alto, don't be rude to the princess. Mia nervously agrees. And someone once again confirms, Alto really has reasons to be grateful. Count Frankie politely interrupts and suggests, moving to the point, the princess is busy after all. Someone agreed, it's time to move to the main topic. Then Princess Charlotte begins to tell how the 7th Royal Squad was founded. She says that the squad was just created and that it is directly under her command since she is a princess. Mia agrees and says she is sure. Now everyone has learned about it. The princess continues, and there is anxiety in her words. A conflict is brewing at court, or rather it is already smoldering beneath the surface. Princess Charlotte frankly says, this is a battle for the throne. She explains that the heir to the throne, the one who will get the throne, has not yet been chosen. The contenders are herself and Charlotte, the king's first child. and her younger brother Richard she is lying in. The family structure was shown in a diagram. The king, the queen herself first in the legitimate line of succession, then the king's mistress, and Prince Richard II, born out of wedlock. Alto looks at this data, and Charlotte notes that the issue of succession has become extremely complicated. Princess Charlotte reveals the king intends to make her the crown prince. But Minister Valo, who holds the greatest power at court, supports her younger brother Richard, and because of this she becomes the political rival of the minister. Alto suddenly realizes that this is the same Minister Valo who previously spoke with Bon. Charlotte explains, Minister Valo is a person who will stop at nothing and resort to any means to achieve his goals. Sometimes her life is under threat, that is why she created this unit, to ask for protection in such moments. Princess Charlotte announced that from now on she will act more decisively to gain the throne and does not intend to stand idly by and watch someone like Minister Valo capture the heart of the nation. Count Frankie cannot help but notice. Everyone except the newcomers already knows the Third Royal Guard was appointed to accompany Her Majesty. However, it was decided that this was not enough. A much more flexible unit was needed than ever before, and thus this direct command force appeared. In other words, from now on, they will participate in critical operations. Count Frankie announced an important mission on which the future course of the country will depend, and this is exactly what they will be doing. He said that he personally selected each of them and will take responsibility for everything they do. Lily feels awkward under this weight. He explains the criteria he used. Lily earned trust through her skills, not political connections. Alto was once a nobleman but is now a commoner, and Mia is almost not connected to nobility. Skills are needed, of course, but the most important thing is that Minister Walo does not influence them. Mia says that as the elected head of Count's family, she is involved in this matter, and Count Frankie clarifies that everything is decided solely based on abilities. But then he adds that in reality Miro simply hates her. Someone reacts to this harsh, straightforward statement. Count Frankie does not calm down, noting that her arrogance and rude tone earned her the minister's displeasure. Someone mutters that he really does not need such an explanation of the reason, while Mia looks completely subdued by this harsh assessment. Count Frankie announced that without any delay, their watch would begin tomorrow. Princess Charlotte explains her plan with a passionate voice. She is leaving tomorrow from the royal palace to visit the eastern city of Minton. On the map, the route stretching from the royal palace all the way to Minton is visible. She adds that they will be accompanied by the 7th Royal Guardsman. Alto recalled that Minton is a large city where Lily used to go shopping before entering the Night Academy. He remembered how once he was a porter there and how the city was thriving then. Princess Charlotte explains that the true goal of their journey is to secure the support of the Duke of Minton, one of the most influential nobles in the entire country. She says that if things continue like this, she will have no allies left at all. In the Great Hall, someone orders everyone to prepare for the mission starting tomorrow, and the guards respond in unison with a short, sharp yes. From above, someone sees Captain Arthur walking through. He passes through the great gallery, and seeing him there, throws a comment. Then Minister Vero approaches and says he heard that Arthur became the captain of the princess's personal guard, to which Arthur replies that it is a great honor for him to hear such praise and congratulates the minister on his promotion. He is addressed as Minister Vero, while the captain stands in parade uniform, clearly nervous after this tense meeting. Suddenly Alto and the minister meet, eyes for a long, tense moment. The minister, calling him Sir Wisely, anxiously asks Alto if something is wrong, if he perhaps sees someone familiar. Arthur quickly replies that everything is fine, minister, while Alto simply remains silent and averts his eyes from his father's gaze. Alto looks into the distance and mentally understands. To the minister, he is now just a stranger. He knew this would happen, but his father truly abandoned him completely. The realization hits painfully. His father no longer considers him his son. Nearby, Lily and Mia watched this painful scene, worry evident on their faces. Minister Vero, with a joyful smile, addresses Arthur. With a smile, he said he eagerly looks forward to seeing him accomplish even greater deeds as the genius of the Night Order. Then someone asks Arthur not to overexert himself, but Arthur only says that he is fine. At that time, Count Frankie stands behind and watches as the minister and his retinue walk down the corridor, quietly observing the entire conversation. Later in the royal courtroom, a woman with long hair addressed the gathered conspirators and, loudly and decisively, said that the tip about Minton is confirmed, so she herself will leave the capital by the end of the day. A man in glasses says he will immediately inform the active squad, and someone asks him, "Please do it." According to the minister's information, the 7th Guard arrived today and confirmed they will proceed according to plan, as scheduled. The older man sitting on the sofa replied, "Of course, they will do so." Then the man in glasses reminds them not to forget to prepare for the celebration, and someone agrees. The elderly man thinks to himself that in 3 days the anniversary will come, dear princess. Meanwhile, the 3rd and 7th royal guards were leading the court Princess Charlotte through the forest towards Minton. Understanding that safety is above all, the group decides to spend the night in the forest on the way. At the camp, Lily sincerely tells Mia that she is glad to take the night watch with her. She feels safe nearby, so it's worth trying, and Mia nervously replies that she is glad to meet her. Lily admits that she was nervous when guarding the princess, although this is the road merchants walk constantly, and she is glad that monsters should not appear here. Mia simply remains stoic. Lily asks if she is still uneasy. It was emphasized that Alto was first in the selection exam. Lily is the most agile of the young knights, and Frankie is a true veteran. She is gnawed by the question, whether Mia is worried or if someone like her should be here at all. Mia mentally told herself that she has not done anything yet. Lily reminds Mia that Captain Arthur also noticed her and thinks very highly of her, adding that Alto said that Mia might even be more hardworking than him, excellent in the team, and never gives up. Alto noticed, a hardworking person recognizes her, and she can be confident in herself. Mia remembers this and thinks, if Alto speaks about her like that, she must face it with confidence. She decides that it is right. Then Lily, as if in passing, says that she and Alto went through the ability ceremony together and asks Mia to confirm it. Mia's face twisted in shock. She stammers, not believing how Lily found out about it. Lily says not to worry, she just decided to check, while Alto was not around, and apologizes for keeping silent even though she knew. Suddenly, Mia covers her mouth and warns that there is. Lily suddenly notices something in the forest. Lily realizes that something is wrong with the forest. Even in the dead of night, there should still be barely noticeable signs of animal movement in the forest. The fact that there is none at all means something. Next to her, a huge hellhound appears silently. Lily noticed that it appeared without any sound, exactly as she expected from an airborne hellhound. The monster loomed over them. The hellhounds gathered in a pack and quickly established a clear order, and the first to appear was the bait, the lowest rank. Someone says that the hellhound senses the enemy's strength and attacks only those it can definitely kill, so a camp with more people and stronger fighters is probably safe. Lily confidently tells Mia that she will find a way to clear the path herself, so Mia needs to defend and call everyone for help. Mia agrees. A pack of hellhounds emerges from the darkness surrounding them. Lily summons her holy sword in a flash of radiant light. Lily Unleash is a huge light attack that crashes down on the hellhound, and the light cuts a gap in their formation. But when Lily strikes the creature with the sword, the blade simply does not cut through it. The blade does not pierce the skin of hellhounds, it is hard as steel. Usually one strike and the head falls, but this is not an ordinary hellhound. Lily decides to strike its weak spot, aiming straight at the maw. She dashed right into the gaping maw of the hellhound, while its giant teeth snapped above her. Meanwhile, several hellhounds are closing in from all sides, and the fight becomes even fiercer. It turned out that everyone in the pack was as resilient as the bait. Mia shouted to Lily, and alarmed, their chances were almost zero. Lily cast the spell, Holy Barrier. A protective shield of light grew around her while the hellhounds attacked. While the battle raged in the forest clearing, someone shouted to Mia that she still couldn't spread the ice in all directions. Maya cast an ice wall to protect yourself. But Lily's holy barrier protected only her. Mia was left completely unprotected. The hellhounds did not stop attacking. Lily fights the hellhound, striking it with her holy sword. The blade hits with a loud strike, but the fight continues. And then Alto comes out of the forest, apologizing for making them wait. Lily calls him as soon as he appears. Alto says that the detection spell he activated just in case was very useful. Lily says she is glad he showed up because the hellhound. Their attacks don't even get through. Someone explains that it is wrapped in a high-density skill barrier, similar to an evaluation spell. Alto notices that he has never heard of a hellhound setting a barrier, and it seems that it will have to be broken with one powerful skill. They do not have time to prepare several large spells. Alto lays out the plan. He will distract it, Mia will dispel the barrier on its fur, and Lily will definitely finish it off. He asks if they can each make a guaranteed shot that removes the effect. Mia quickly replied, understood. Alto shouted sharply, forward, and rushed at the hellhound. A coordinated attack began. Alto rushed forward to attract the creature's attention, while Mia prepares hers learning to pronounce the spell. The fight unfolds rapidly. As they implement their plan, Alto releases a magical blast at the hellhound. The barrier around the creature suddenly crumbles, and Lily strikes with the holy sword. The blade finally cuts through it. The group triumphantly celebrates their success, and the decides not to stop and continue acting with their coordinated approach. Alto rushes through the forest, returning to the camp. In the camp, someone says with relief that it seems the attack did not reach their position. Count Guilford notices that Alto has returned and anxiously asks if something happened, since it is not yet time for the shift. Alto addresses him, Captain. Malto explains, it is very likely that someone is trying to disrupt their journey. Count Guilford puts it all together. An A-class monster appeared here, where it should not have been at all, and it was even strengthened by a barrier. He immediately took command and shouted for everyone to get up. He announced that they were ambushed and they destroyed the enemy, but more could come. Before the next wave hits, they need to move right now and manage to reach Minton. He orders to immediately move to Minton. The guards respond and instantly prepare the camp for battle. The group arrives at Minton Castle. The fortifications are visible from above, and the surrounding town sprawls below. Duke Minton, in luxurious ceremonial robes covered with crosses, meets them, warmly welcomes them, and sincerely thanks them for coming. One of us sincerely thanks the Duke for taking the time to meet with us. Duke Minton replied that for his grace, it is not a great honor to visit the lands of such an old provincial lord as he is, and offered to sit instead of standing and talking. Duke Minton admits, recently, indeed, a few troubles have occurred. He says that in the abandoned mines and tunnels, where magical stones were once mined, monsters have settled, and the townspeople suffer from this, whereas adventurers used to somehow manage it. But in the last few months, the monsters have become stronger, so destroying them is now much harder. They returned empty-handed, unable to advance. He says they asked the City Adventurers Guild for help, but nothing came of it. The Duke grimly noted, if these monsters have the same defense as yesterday's hellhound, an ordinary adventurer would have no chance against them. Charlotte suggests entrusting her royal guards with the task of exterminating the monsters. Alto instantly recognizes the scheme. Solve another problem in exchange for their admission to his faction, an almost usual way to negotiate among the nobility, as someone remarked. Charlotte says she will send the 7th Squad of the Royal Guard under Captain Arthur, one of their best units. But Duchess Minton said anxiously that this would weaken the security of her precious Royal Guard. Charlotte calmly says that it's all right this time, they have more than enough people. Duke Minton says he will send a few of his castle soldiers to also guard the princess, and someone thanks him for the offer. Someone notes that then their escort would become smaller, and Charlotte asks what he means. She is told that the 3rd Royal Guard is already here, so there is no problem with the number of people. Alto sincerely says that he is grateful for their cooperation. He says that tonight they will rest and recover their strength, and tomorrow they will swiftly conquer the monster. Prince Minton admits that they walked all night, and generously thanks them for their efforts. Later that night, Alto and Charlotte sat in her room and drank tea together. Charlotte smiles and thanks Alto for keeping her company on this trip and asks if it disrupted his plans. Alto says no, nothing special, everything is fine. He was just resting in the room and practicing magic, preparing for tomorrow's battle. Alto asks if he was called here for some urgent special mission or something like that. But Charlotte clarifies that it is not a mission. She just wanted to hear what was on his mind. Alto is clearly surprised by this, and then Charlotte asks herself if she is really doing the right thing. She sincerely said that so far she has done everything possible to help the people of her country. Sitting at the tea table, Charlotte passionately lays out her philosophy. She wants to lead the nation so that every citizen can live a dignified and happy life. She feels it as her duty and therefore does not stop. Charlotte recalls that from birth she was a princess. She was always expected to behave properly and meet others' expectations. People gather around, and her heart becomes lonelier. Alto thought that perhaps she also refused the title of princess simply out of modesty. Then Charlotte directly asks Alto, "Do you think the throne should go to me?" Alto understands. This question, depending on the answer, would usually be perceived as an insult to the monarch, a kind of test for the subject. But the princess before him hesitated not as a royal, but as an ordinary girl named Charlotte. She was waiting for an answer not from a subject, but from him personally, simply as a person. Alto frankly admits, honestly, right now he hardly understands anything about the throne or the kingdom. Charlotte emphasizes that he is the eldest son of an influential family, raised accordingly, and asks, doesn't he have a clearer answer than this? Alto acknowledges, this is the same situation if he were a vassal. He would say that she is the one destined to become king. Alto says he knows what the formal or correct answer would be. He understands this because he was expelled from his own home. He explains that positions and officials can be replaced, and even the king will be replaced in a few years if everything goes quickly. Charlotte silently looks at him while Alto emphasizes that nothing can replace the person themselves. Charlotte closes her eyes and smiles, recalling how Alto lost the support of an influential family and began to consider himself useless, and how her childhood friend reached out to her and proved that this was not so. Alto assures her, whether you inherit the throne or not, it does not change the fact that Lady Charlotte saved him, and he is confident that many citizens think the same. He says that her feelings are truly noble, so she should believe in what she has done and hold her head high. Charlotte thanks Alto for his honesty and directly says that because of this she began to love him even more. Alto replies that he will do everything to justify her trust. Later, Charlotte says that she will rely on him during tomorrow's hunt, and Alto assures her that he will do everything to ensure their success. And when he left, Charlotte was confused. She was so nervous that she truly confessed to him that she likes him. The next day, monsters appeared in both sections of the tunnel, so the squad split into two groups to handle the situation. Frankie and Alto take control of the southern tunnel, while Charlotte, Mia, and Lily take care of the eastern tunnel. The operation starts with the order, act swiftly but accurately. In the southern tunnel, Frankie makes it clear, now he is the leader here, so everyone better listen to his words. He noted that Alto seemed to have become at least somewhat useful while Frankie was not around, but Frankie immediately warned him. From here, packs of monsters will start to appear, which even experienced adventurers find hard to handle, so it is not as simple as Alto imagines. Alto confirms that he understands. Frankie continues to warn. He says he has seen many people who, at the most important moment, simply froze and could not move from their place. It did not matter how talented they were. Some even gave their lives during the very first mission. He tells Alto, if you think the situation is bad, say so immediately. Frankie does not want the mission to be dragged down. Alto responds decisively, I will do everything possible. Suddenly, the monster is already here. Frankie notices its appearance, but then realizes that it is just a goblin E-rank, and he does not understand what the hell is going on here, because he heard that monsters are incredibly strong. Frankie already doubts whether Captain Arthur was really the better choice. When the goblin approaches, Frankie notices something strange in its clothing and involuntarily thinks, is this some special model? Frankie, barely holding back a smile, says that these monsters turned out to be weak after all. Alto agrees but says that this was clearly not an ordinary goblin, although it did not look too strong. Frankie wonders if the local adventurers lost only because they could not break through the monster's clothing. Alto thought it was like a trash monster for him. It was not even necessary to use skills, but Frankie feels that something is wrong with all this. A year has passed since they entered the tunnel, and suddenly, a huge creature resembling a spider appeared before them. Frankie says they have already taken down about 10 of these, but this place only gets deeper and deeper. Alto notes that it really feels like a dungeon. After Alto defeated the monster, he grimly remarks that the number of encounters is clearly abnormal. The further they go, the more often they come across these creatures. Frankie agrees, saying it seems like someone deliberately settled monsters here. Not like in a dungeon, where monsters appear as if out of thin air, here they seem to be deliberately placed. Alto notices a troubling detail. The map shows a well-maintained road, but it is not on their path at all ahead. The trail is already starting to collapse. Suddenly, Alto warns Frankie, there are several monsters ahead, and this time they look quite strong. Frankie replies that this is perfect so far, they have been just small fry, and he hasn't yet had a chance to show what he is capable of. Alto confirms he is ready, and Frankie with a sinister smile says, the stronger they are, the more he likes taking them down, because this time their mission is to completely destroy the monsters. The two of them continue to make their way deeper into the tunnel. Suddenly, a huge creature emerges before them. Alto immediately recognizes it as King Lizardman, an A-rank monster. Its strength and speed are not comparable to an ordinary lizardman. Frankie designates their enemies as boss level for a mid-scale dungeon and explains, Hellhounds are air rank due to coordinated work, and these are air rank each individually. Then Alto looks ahead and realizes there are 7 of them in the tunnel, and they are waiting. Frankie asks if Alto got scared at the last minute, but Alto says he can fight right now if Frankie says so. Frankie warns him he is sure that Alto already knows this, but he could not afford to lower his guard during the fight. Alto tenses and prepares the royal lizardmen begin to approach. Meanwhile, Frankie declares that he will finish this with one strike and releases Dragon's Breath, a powerful attack and top-level skill, one that can break through any obstacle. Frankie shouts, this is the end, when a huge explosion of magic crashes into the Lizard King. Frankie is stunned. His advanced skill did not even scratch them. Alto notices that it is exactly like those hellhounds they fought earlier, and notes that all these monsters are covered with powerful barriers. Frankie calls to break through despite everything, saying that the barrier is about to burst from his strike. Both continue their attack. Breaking through magical defenses, they burst into hand-to-hand combat with the Lizard King. Alto and Frankie rushed through the royal lizard men with explosive force-air strikes were devastating and knocked down the monsters one by one. The battle continues, more enemies appear ahead, and Frankie notices that the next wave is already approaching. The battle continues on by one the Lizard King's fall. Frankie boldly says he can handle it, but instantly realizes there are still 5 left. He starts calling Alto, checking if he is okay. Grateful to himself, he thought, although Alto was the best in the class, for a novice this would be too much. Suddenly the rest of the royal lizard men crumbled and fell. Frankie's eyes widened in shock when Alton appeared. He calmly says that it seems that's all. Frankie froze, not believing his eyes, and thinks, who the hell is this guy? Alto seems not to even pay attention to the fact that their test results differ. Alto warns there are still monsters ahead, and when he looks at the map, he notices right there sits the monster Arank. If this continues, they will be in the deepest part in moments. Meanwhile, Frankie got fired up and firmly declared that he would show Alto how to deal with a powerful enemy, even if it is S-rank, if it comes to that. The two of them make their way deeper into the tunnel network. Finally, they come out into a huge open chamber, where high above, a round opening generously lets in light from outside. On the ground lies the fallen corpse of a huge monster. Frankie notices they have come out into a fairly spacious place. But then Alto froze, staring ahead in complete shock. Deep in the tunnel hides a huge dragon, and this beast is twice as big as any dragon he has ever seen. Frankie assumes that usually someone would think it constantly absorbed mono from the magical stones left in the head, and this is probably what is happening here. But most likely someone artificially increased it. Suddenly a huge armored dragon notices them and roars, demanding, "Who the hell are you?" The dragon notices the attack and roars again, suspecting whether the attacker is some elite fighter, and Frankie releases his fireball at the huge beast. And the explosion strikes with unheard-of force, engulfing the dragon in flames and smoke. The blow hits the dragon, but it immediately recovers, growling as if warning that their attack is near. Then the huge beast rushes forward at full speed straight at Alto and Frankie, its colossal body bearing down on them with destructive force. Frankie and Lix released dragon breath right on the street. Activates the fire spear, both. Fighters simultaneously unleashed their most powerful offensive spells. Their magical attacks tore the air and flew straight at the charging dragon. 2 destructive spells merge and are directed at their target. The combined magical assault explodes against the dragon with colossal force. But when the smoke cleared, Alto saw exactly what he expected. The creature didn't have a scratch, and he observed the dragon's incredible defense. Meanwhile, the dragon mocks them, saying that fools like them won't hurt him with such attacks. Alto instantly comes up with a new plan and orders Frankie, shoot at one point, aim at the base of the dragon's right leg. Frankie suddenly realizes, if this works, they can destroy both the barrier itself and one of its supports. Alto confirms he understands the plan. The 2 fighters launched a coordinated attack. Frankie shouted to open fire, and Alto responded. When they both release aimed attacks directly at the same point, their focused attacks strike the dragon's leg. Frankie exclaims with frustration that it's too strong. Alto curses, saying that despite their focused attack, they couldn't even break the barrier. Suddenly Frankie sees the dragon preparing a counterattack, and shouts for Alto to unleash protective magic with all his might. The dragon's devastating counterstrike crashes down. Frankie screams at its incredible power. The blow hits them with stunning force. The explosion engulfs everything around. The hexagonal barrier grid shattered into pieces under a powerful blow. A strong explosion threw Alto backward, and Frankie shouted, asking if the rookie was okay. Alto regains consciousness after the blow, and his gaze becomes tense and focused. He realizes that the force he is dealing with is on a completely different level, and he must defeat it before the barrier falls. Alto prepares a counterattack. Dark energy thickens around him, and he releases a colossal strike toward the dragon. The battle continues. Alto dodges the dragon's attacks, and Frankie watches from afar. Meanwhile, someone loudly calls the rookie as explosions shake the entire area. Frankie Cursessa was overwhelmed with helplessness when he realized he couldn't get close enough to help in the fight. Explosions thunder one after another as the dragon presses with full force, and suddenly Frankie notices the barrier is destroyed. Alto knows one more hit and it's the end for him. He swiftly shouts spells, creating an ice wall and a fiery spear one after another. The combined spell crashed down on the dragon with devastating power, finally breaking through its defense with several explosive strikes. The dragon roared at Alto, demanding his attention and sternly ordering him not to dare ignore it. His huge eye gleams threateningly when it attacks with furious rage. Alto reacted instantly and activated the ice wall and fiery spear again. Spells converge on the dragon and explode with a powerful wave of magical force. Suddenly, Alto rushed at the dragon with incredible speed. He unleashes an unrelenting avalanche of blows, striking the creature again and again. Each blow hits devastatingly as Alto presses his advantage. The dragon takes the full barrage of attacks. Numerous strikes appear as wounds spreading across its entire body. Alto struggles not to lose composure while the dragon constantly aims at him. He realizes, whether instinct or reason the creature knows, he is weakened and vulnerable. The pressure mounts. He finally understands what he's gotten into. One more direct hit, and he will die. There is no time to restore the barrier, but Alto does not give up. There must be at least some clue, some way to get out of this. And at that critical moment, a system message flashed before Alto's eyes. His automagic had risen to a new level, and a new skill became available for use. Alto stares saw the notification. Automagic reached level 30. There was so much necessary experience that he completely forgot that leveling up even exists. Alto calls Frankie, tensely asking if he can. You will manage to briefly capture the dragon's attention. He pulls out a fragrant ball, a concentrated substance that monsters simply adore. They set it on fire. Frankie instantly throws a fireball to ignite it, shouting at Alto that he never passed something like this before. Alto apologizes, but says that maybe there is a way to get out of this situation. The dragon snorts and moves forward, but Frankie just smiles and says that Alto has finally learned to rely on his strength. Then the dragon launches a merciless attack, delivering huge claw strikes on Frankie's position. Frankie meets the dragon face to face. His face became stern and determined. He made Alto understand not to limit himself to a few words and declared that he is ready to hold on like this for hours if necessary. Meanwhile, the dragon is distracted by the fragrant ball, and Frankie thinks aloud. Alto froze, looking at the system notification in front of him. The number of simultaneous activations has increased, and most importantly, instant script writing is now available. The notification confirms that level 30 has been reached. He unlocked instant scripting and increased the number of simultaneous activations to 32. Alto realized that this ability had previously been more powerful than a high-level skill, and with this improvement, he could achieve truly incredible firepower. Then Alto calls out to Frankie, apologizing for making him wait. He warns that he is about to release a superpower he has never used before. Since it is the first time, it may fail, so he asks Frankie to be careful. Frankie shouted in response that he did not wait, and only about 5 minutes had passed. Frankie looks increasingly worried, cannot believe that after Alto showed so much senseless power, he can still increase it. Alto crouches, stretches out his hands, and turns on the fiery spear. Suddenly, from the place where Alto stands bursts a giant fiery spear much larger than anything seen before. The spell tears the air with its raw power. Frankie could not believe his eyes had never before seen such a huge fiery spear. A huge fiery spear strikes the dragon with devastating force. The attack passed through the creature's defense as if it were not there. Alto immediately demands another shot, not stopping for a moment. The frantic power of Alto's spell threw the dragon backward. Its massive body could not withstand the barrage of attacks at all. Alto's massive fiery spear again strikes the dragon with destructive force. The giant spell tears through the creature's defense, and its blow shatters the air around them. An explosion engulfs the dragon's body, and the huge creature slides back under the pressure of the stunning force of the blow. Meanwhile, Frankie just stands, frozen in shock at the scale of destruction unfolding before him. Frankie looks and thinks, once he envied Alto, but now he is sincerely moved by this overwhelming power, which far exceeds anything he could imagine. But then Alto looked more closely and noticed that it seemed the dragon was not defeated after all. Frankie screams in despair, demanding to know what the hell is going on after all. The dragon was supposed to be defeated already. Suddenly, figures in armor appear around them. Alto rushes to meet them. A fight begins. Someone shouts, "Retreat," and another throws a fireball at the approaching enemies. The soldiers in armor panicked and shouted the situation completely got out of control. One soldier loudly calls for help, and another shouts in complete confusion, while Alto only watches anxiously as chaos unfolds. Suddenly, one of the soldiers recognized Alto and shouted to him, "What are you doing in such a place?" No one expected to meet again under such circumstances. Frankie asks if this soldier is familiar to Alto, and Alto confirms that the man is an old colleague. The soldier panics and explains that he was hired just for money and ordered to get rid of the local monsters. Frankie demands to know, who the hell are these people? Who are they and why are they here at all? The soldier shouts that he knows nothing, but Alto simply looks him straight in the eyes. The soldier stubbornly insists that he is telling the truth and knows nothing, but Alto firmly tells him not to lie because he himself knows something. Alto decisively declared that he no longer needs the soldier, and Frankie coldly acknowledges this. Meanwhile, the woman screams in panic that they were there until this morning, so the princess is still there. Someone remembered Minton and whispered about rumors that there were others there, and another voice sharply exclaimed about mimics and confirmed it's Minton. Then the dragon releases a devastating breath again. And suddenly someone notices, this cannot be a coincidence. They decide to return to Minton immediately, and the group agrees, quickly gathering to set off. Frankie says he is glad they immediately agreed on an emergency return signal, and as if on cue, a signal rocket rises into the sky. The soldiers around notice the signal and immediately panic. One of them shouts to the others, "Run while you still can." But Alto rushes forward and cuts them down before they can escape. Now the soldiers are tied up and pressed to the ground. Charlotte looks worried and quietly utters a prayer for the princess to be safe. Alto confirms that he will make sure the military police later take the captured soldiers, and someone agrees with the plan. Then Alto and the rest rush to run to Minton, leaving the tied mercenaries behind. They approach the castle and see a terrible sight, bodies scattered everywhere in the yard and on the stairs. Alto looks at the bloody massacre and notices that not a single living person remains. Frankie looks just as shocked by this massacre. Suddenly, voices calling Alto, Frankie, and Captain Arthur came from below. Lily and Mia both look stunned. Lily cannot believe that everyone was alive just this morning. Mia, with a trembling voice, asks if there are any survivors. Alto confirms their presence, then immediately gives orders. The most important thing is to find the princess, and he commands everyone to search the castle. The group disperses throughout the castle to begin the search. Meanwhile, the group searches the castle and comes across bodies scattered everywhere. One of the women notices, wherever you look there are corpses everywhere, but suddenly Alto noticed something strange. He says that the maids and servants were not touched, only the soldiers died. Continuing the search, suddenly a blonde captain appeared, and Alto urgently shouted to him, asking Eric what this means, and named him captain of the 3rd Royal Guard. Duke Minton stands broken after the massacre. Alto asks how this could have happened, and the man cannot come to terms with the thought that everyone is actually dead. Meanwhile, the blonde Captain Eric approaches Captain Arthur and says that he has already inspected most of the other rooms. The news is quite bad. The princess is nowhere to be found, and Eric suspects that she might have been kidnapped. Someone from the group says, if there are no bodies, it is very likely that they are still alive. Alto immediately states that there is no time to wait for reinforcements. They are setting out after them right now. He loudly shouts agreement, and Mia and Lily respond affirmatively, ready to move. The scene shifts to night. A clearing in the forest is drowned in darkness. Suddenly an explosive blast sounded, and someone shouted to the others, "Get out of here." Bound figures lie on the ground, and in despair voices shout the name Zio Ding. One person notices, it seems they were brought here according to plan. The tied prisoner cries out to be released. And then Minister Wilo appears, and Charlotte recognizes him immediately. Even bound, she shouts his name. Wilo just laughs and asks what she is even talking about, says there is nothing to be done, and orders someone to remove everything from her except her hands. Suddenly, the voice of Duke Minton breaks the silence, and Vilo realizes that it was his voice that gave him away when he called Princess Charlotte. Valo spoke coldly, describing how the princess second in power in this country has now fallen to her knees before him, covered in blood. Charlotte demands to know, why did Vilo resort to such violence? Next to her, Duke Minton smiles sinisterly. Okamlai explains that this is not a reckless act, everything was planned in advance. He admits that is why he managed to lure her all the way here, deep into the mountain. Vilo dramatically spread his arms and declared that this plan will only end when he kills Charlotte. Charlotte was still tied to Fire's back. If he only wanted to kill her, he should have done it back at Minton Castle. But Vilo asks her not to be so impatient and assures the princess he will kill her properly. Charlotte fervently demands to know why he had to involve everyone in Minton Castle in this. Vilo explains that before killing Charlotte, there is one guy, a real Iser, and he also plans to kill Arthur from the Royal Guard at the same time. He tells Charlotte that she will become his hostage, and Charlotte froze in shock. Charlotte begs Vilo to stop, but he simply does not stop. Arthur has already interfered with his noble plans more than once. Someone nearby confirms this, and Vilo continues, saying that the damage they have suffered is immeasurable. Suddenly, Charlotte understands why Vilo wants to kill not only her, but also Captain Arthur, and anxiously asks if he orchestrated all this just so the princess's faction could act without obstacles. Confirm is a person who prepares extremely carefully and yet adds, there is still much to be done ahead. Wilo, laughing, admits, even he has to agree it was a perfect plan. After all, if Charlotte hears that people are suffering from monsters, he felt she would definitely send Arthur's squad away. Meanwhile, Alto and others had already taken positions nearby. And meanwhile, Glutz, attacking as soon as the trouble disappeared, everything went so smoothly. Carriages roll through the forest, and Wilo does not tire of teasing them. He is sure they think that even now there is no time to call for reinforcements, and he finds this quite pathetic. Nothing but a distant sense of justice and one squad. Wilo threw with a self-satisfied smile. How pathetic it is that they came all the way here only to become food for the monsters. But Charlotte shouted in response that they are proud knights, not at all like him, and demanded to know if he really thinks everything will happen exactly as he planned. Charlotte is hit hard, she cries out in pain. Wilo sternly tells her to shut up and stop these cheeky remarks, calls her a little brat, coldly says he could kill her right now if he wanted, and that she is alive only because he allows it, and on Charlotte's face there is only pain and tears. She silently endures this abuse. Meanwhile, Arthur's squad gallops through the forest on horses, pursuing the trail left by Wilo's troops. One of the female knights even shouted to the captain that something is wrong here. Although there was no rain, the wheel tracks from the wheels they were using were very clear and easily noticeable. Alto crouched to the ground, carefully examined the obvious tracks and realized they were left intentionally. The squad suddenly understands that they are being lured into a trap. Someone notes that Vilo left such obvious signs of the attack, it should be assumed that this was done to lure them. Alto analyzes the situation more deeply and observes. If Vilo's sole purpose was to kill Charlotte, there would be no need to kidnap her and cover it up in this way. Given the circumstances, they do not just want to kill the Princess. Alto concluded that perhaps they intend to kill the 7th Royal Guard along with her. Mia and Lily gather courage, preparing for what lies ahead. The chase leads them to a fork, where the Shinotraki take both paths. Frankie suddenly realizes the enemy is trying to split them up. They scrutinize both paths. The right ends at a mountain hut perfect for a hideout, and the left leads only along a mountain trail. Alto firmly decides, overall, there is a greater chance that the enemy is taking the right path. Frankie makes a plan he and Alto take the right path and sends Mia and Lily to scout the left. Mia eagerly confirms the order. Alto warns them not to overdo it, and although he feels uneasy that only novices are going on the mission, he acknowledges their skills. He orders if you find the princess signal with a huge fiery spear, and the rest of the squad will immediately rush there, and the group nods in response, confirming they understood. Walking the left path, the knight notices that the princess is probably not on this road now. There are almost only animal trails here. But suddenly Alto notices fresh wheel tracks in the grass and shouts that he found them. Ahead through the vegetation, Alto notices a light in the distance. Alto lights a fiery spear to signal the others the princess has been found. Through the trees they see Charlotte, tied up and captured by Duke Wilo and a man in a mask. Wilo shouts at them not to approach, saying this is not Arthur. He says it does not matter, because he planned to finish them both off anyway. Alto suddenly recognizes the minister. He is shocked. Wilo continues, the only difference is who is first and who is last. Charlotte shouts at Duke Wilo, do you even understand what you're doing? I am a princess, and what you're doing is treason against the crown. Wilo muttered those words in response, and a slight anxiety appeared on his face. Nearby a masked figure smiles and asks, who exactly can prove this? Vilo gathers calm and adds that none of them will leave here alive. A figure in a mask begins rhythmically chanting a spell in an ancient magical language while performing complex hand gestures. Lily recognizes how the magic circle grows and the spell sounds, and feels that something dangerous is approaching. The masked figure completes the spell and awakens a fireball. The fireball bursts into attack with destructive force. Alto and Lily are both shocked when a magical attack approaches them. Meanwhile, Charlotte is still firmly held by Vilosomion laughs and asks, isn't this a miracle? The masked silhouette summons its Cervanta-carved majestic dragon, and a massive skeletal monster bursts out with a roar. The figure commands it to kill Alto and his squad, and the undead creature looms over them, its giant bones casting shadows across the entire battlefield. Alto instantly responds, layers his skills, activates physical and magical buffs, and releases a fiery spear. The reinforced spell strikes the skeletal dragon with even greater force. Alto strains with effort until Lily continues to fight beside him. Meanwhile, Alto rapidly analyzes the situation. Even an attack enhanced both physically and magically to the maximum did not make the dragon even flinch. But suddenly he notices an important detail. It seems this thing cannot fly. so he prepares another fire spear and adjusts his strategy. Alto grimly swears, "I will smash the dragon's bony legs and take away its mobility." His enhanced attacks crash down on the creature's limbs with devastating force. Explosions erupted where his magic met the bone. Then Alto asks if Duke Vilo raised those monsters. Duke Minton noted that the monsters Alto fought yesterday, and today these battles were truly difficult, and Charlotte agreed. Yes, they were really tough. Duke Vilo laughed and explained, "All this is thanks to that stupid dog who so easily sold him that thing, so he was able to complete the project." Alto trembled with shock when he realized that Arasso and Dog were involved in this scheme. The explanation continues. By analyzing its composition, they managed to create the most powerful dragon, and Duke Velo boasts that they made it the strongest of all. And then like thunder, the truth is revealed. The dragon in the mine also turned out to be part of this plan. The traces found on that fool's sword showed that the barrier is so powerful that it can keep sealed the legendary dragon zombie of S level. This is a mighty barrier skill that uses the lost magic of the old generation. Below, Alto stands, going over in his mind the entire scale of their conspiracy. Meanwhile, Duke Vilo waved off the imaginary dragon as a mere unfinished failure. Someone warned that Viro had lowered his guard, but the Duke, in protest, declared that this failure should not be equated with this perfect creation. Suddenly something happens, and someone shudders in fright. A skeletal dragon crawls in the forest. Lily cast a spell and fired her magic, striking the heart of the skeletal dragon. Alto shouted to her to go. The barrier disappeared. Lily rushes forward, while someone activates the holy sword. The weapon glows with sacred energy, and it approaches to strike. Duke Vilo only laughed and said that he was not careless. His barrier magic had completely merged with the dragon's flesh. And he firmly says, "Whatever they do, it is in vain." Lily looks at the dragon in shock. It is completely unharmed after her attack, and she realizes, no matter how hard she tries to break this barrier, it is completely different from anything she has ever faced. Duke Vilo boasts of what he has achieved: a massive framework, conducted research, devastating results, and incredible strength. He says what impression it makes and admits that in the open field, he still failed to gain much combat experience. Someone says it's time to finish already. Then Duke Vilo orders the skeletal dragon to finish off Alto, barking at the great dragon while the creature launches a devastating attack. Lily loudly warned about the dragon's breath, shouted for everyone to retreat, and instantly created an ice wall. And the divine barrier also rises. Alto understands the situation is terrible, truly terrible. Between the heat wave and the huge damage zone, the attack spread too widely to evade. And then the dragon's breath struck them with explosive force, throwing everyone back. Someone is calling Miss Lily. Alito shouts to Lily and Mia simultaneously as the explosion tears apart their defensive position. The ice wall comes alive again as soon as someone asks. When asked if Lily and Mia are okay, Lily replies that she is fine, although she was a bit hurt. But someone says, "Alto, forget checking them and better find a more effective way to deal with this," reminding him how they hit the hellhound's jaws, striking its weak spot and inflicting painful damage. Alto was called a fan of economy, but he pondered and began to truly think everything through. He remembers how they defeated the zombie dragon by destroying its heart, the only weak point. So even this thing must have at least one weak spot. Alto understands, if the pursuers are divided into two groups, the dragon is no longer completely invincible. But he is frantic, not knowing how to manage to find the weak spot in time. Usually he would have time for trial and error, and to perform complex processes, the syntax must be perfectly combined. So now he doubts whether he can write such a complex spell text in such a short time, or if it is better to activate automagic, spam skills, and fix damage. Suddenly he was pierced a new skill he had never used before: worked, instant scripting. Because this is a different method, some new approach he had not tried yet. Alto activates instant transcription, a spell that showers the opponent's body with fireballs, counts damage from each hit, and identifies the exact spot where the most damage is inflicted. Magical inscriptions and calculations began to appear rapidly. Alto suddenly realizes what would have taken hours before now happens almost instantly. Alto activates the scan of weak spots. The observer notices that he continuously fires bursts of 32 shots again and again. Lily notes that he simply showers the dragon with attacks all over its body, hitting everywhere simultaneously. But someone waved it off, saying it's just a barrage of numbers, nothing that could really hurt that thing. Duke Vilo snorted, no matter how many sparks Alto fires, it's not even a massage for the dragon. Meanwhile, the scanner rapidly processes data, analyzing every point of impact on the massive skeletal body of the dragon, and the system detects a critical vulnerability: the base of the wings. Alto releases a blazing spear, aiming directly at the newly found weak spot. The concentrated magical spear rushes straight to the base of the dragon's wing with flawless accuracy. The fiery spear hits precisely and destructively. Several strikes hit the vulnerable joints of the dragon's wings, causing massive damage. Lillian Mia watches as the attacks tear through the creature's defense as if it wasn't there. But the assault continues. The sacred sword activates, and icy expanses arise behind it. The coordinated magical bombardment relentlessly strikes the dragon's weak spots. Each spell hits exactly where needed to inflict maximum damage. And then the dragon falls. Someone has. That they will not celebrate Alto's success with pure admiration. Duke Vilo just looks with disbelief, saying that it is impossible, it cannot be that this just happened, and the person in the mask screams in pain as the undead dragon crumbles beneath them. Duke Vilo curses, insists, this is not how it should be, everything has gone awry. Lily released an icy shot straight at Duke Vilo, and the Duke screams as the attack crashes down on him. He yells at them, demanding to know what the hell is going on here, and Lily instantly extends her icy hand, and he is completely frozen. Meanwhile, Alto rushes to Princess Charlotte to check if she is okay. Charlotte lies there. They are wounded and exhausted, barely able to utter a single word. Every week she calls Alto's name. Alto rushes to her and says that she is safe now, asking if she feels pain anywhere. Charlotte reaches out to him and calls his name again. Lillian and Mia watch the whole scene with faces frozen in shock. Alto looks no less stunned as Charlotte clings to him and thanks him again and again. Panic fills Alto's mind. Will Li, Her Majesty, blame him for this whole mess? But he rejects this thought and tells her that in any case, he is simply glad that the princess is safe. Then Charlotte looked at Alto and firmly said that, when he addresses her, let him call her Charlotte. She adds that she was sure she was not mistaken when she recommended him to the royal guard. Alto just sits silently next to her. Later that night, they stayed alone under the starry sky, and Charlotte's heart was clearly pounding from everything that had happened. Meanwhile, at the Wellesley estate and the 50-year-old, an official confirmed it seems this information is really reliable. The news is booming. Minister Vilo has been arrested. Meanwhile, someone else realizes the full scale of this conspiracy. Skull Dead was a real S-level monster, whom even the strongest fighters could barely defeat. The whole plan was to spend unheard of fortunes on preparing Skulded and organizing a strike group to attack Minton Castle. All this was supposed to secure the minister's position in return, but instead everything fell apart. The goal was to destroy both the princess and Alto. Someone reports to their master about the one who defeated the Scorched. After the enhancement, the monster was supposed to become even stronger, so strong that even Arthur and several others together would not be able to easily overcome it. And then the servant unexpectedly confesses that his name is Alto. The master, hearing this name, screamed in horror and completely lost his composure. Meanwhile, the officials are still actively discussing. Minister Viro was arrested as the organizer of a series of incidents, and they say he remains completely silent about other crimes. Someone tells the master that repentance is unlikely to be accepted. But the master burst out shouting, "Don't do stupid things." Even if the criminal charges do not hold, the very fact that everyone found out about his brown-nosing to the minister is already a disgrace in itself. And if the faction itself falls apart, his dream of becoming a minister will be completely destroyed. Suddenly someone interrupts, shouting loudly. At the Wellesley estate, Alto's father sits at the table, flipping through papers and grumbling irritably that nothing is working out, cursing the whole situation. But suddenly his expression changes. He realizes that right in front of him lies the perfect stone to make a step forward. He decides, since it has come to this, there is no point in holding on to the prince's faction any longer. A few days later, at the royal palace, Princess Charlotte returns in an elegant dress that flowed smoothly. Eric, captain of the 3rd Royal Guard, welcomes her return. Charlotte bows low and keeps apologizing. Eric asks her to raise her head. Charlotte explains that the 3rd Royal Guard died protecting her, and as the one who must unite and lead the people, her sympathy was sincerely accepted. Charlotte looks worried, but someone tells her that the guards were just doing their duty, as knights her safety is their greatest reward. Charlotte's face immediately shows that these words hit her with their full weight. Meanwhile, someone asks Arthur if he succeeded in rescuing the princess, and in response, it is heard that it was actually the newcomers who defeated the Scorched and saved her. Another observer notes that this year's newcomers are truly impressive, then tells Arthur that he really did a great job. Arthur agrees. Charlotte insists, if not for them, Velo would have already taken her life, and someone immediately remarks that such an act deserves a medal. An official tells everyone that they are dismissed for now, let them rest a bit. Another person states that they will now present their report. They were ordered to tell all the details about Arthur. Alto stands next to Lily, Mia, and others, and they all respond enthusiastically. Alto, Charlotte, and Mia walk side by side, leaving the palace. Lily looks at them and calls Alto. Someone says they are really exhausted, but it seems they will finally be able to rest today. Worry is visible on Lily's face as she watches Alto leave with the others. But then suddenly, a man with a ponytail and glasses in formal attire appears before Alto, standing in the palace courtyard. Alto lies on the ground and looks up, and the man standing over him is his father, Marquis Wellesley. Marquis Wellesley tells Alto that he has done excellently in those trials and has become truly respected. He declares that now, since Alto is like this, he will allow him to return to the proud Wellesley house. Alto simply freezes, looking up at his father, stunned. Alto resolutely tells his father, Marquis Wellesley, that returning is not an option. From afar, Lillian Mia watches the entire confrontation unfold. As Alto continues, he now has comrades who truly believe in him, so he no longer needs to be a member of the Wellesley family. Marquis Wellesley yells at Alto, raising his voice and demanding to know how much more ungrateful he intends to be. But Alto calmly apologizes and steps away from his father. Later, Lily tells Alto that he is finally breaking ties with that family. Alto responds with a short, simple confirmation. Then the scene shifts to an elegant palace room, where Prince Richard Charlotte is sprawled in a luxurious armchair. He tells the man kneeling that what strikes him is that he had the audacity to show up. Marquis Wellesley bows low before the engravings in the luxurious room. The man who fell prostrate confesses that he underestimated the power of the 7th Imperial Guardsman. Prince Richard asks tensely whether that man is also to blame for Vilo's failure. The man bitterly explains the operation was botched by Duke Vilo, although he was the one who brought Skull dead. Prince Richard said he heard the preparation was more than sufficient. The man replies that the presence of that novice knight was an important factor, and that knight's name is Alto. He was appointed on the princess's recommendation. Prince Richard said the name Alto with interest. Someone noted that Alto crushed the Bone House conspiracy, but no one could have imagined he would even lead Willio to his demise. Prince Richard decisively says that only results matter. He says the princess is still alive, and the right to the throne now leans in her favor. He asks how that man intends to resolve this situation. The dark-haired man continued his report to Prince Richard and coldly stated that the princess must be killed, even if now she is a commoner. Meanwhile, downstairs in the chambers, a blonde noblewoman dismissed the words as empty talk, and the man coldly replied that no one in the Wellesley family gathers information better than him because Alto was once the eldest son of his house. She tells him that she will not believe until she sees the results with her own eyes and demands that he prove his usefulness. The man bowed and confirmed that he understood, saying that he would immediately begin preparations. A few days later, someone bursts into the Wellesley estate and, out of breath, asks the master, "Is it really true?" The dark-haired man replied that it was not a problem, and in general, he needed to make a bit of noise. Marquis Wellesley protests vehemently, warning that if they act this way, the country could descend into chaos that would no longer be controllable. The dark-haired man calmly lays out the plan. The goal is to draw the knights away from the royal capital by choosing someone who can be used within their control. He adds that they don't even need to defeat the knights, they are merely a distraction. The dark-haired man sits at an ornate writing desk, and at that moment someone replies, "Understood, I will carry it out." In a moment, someone collapsed behind the desk. The servant noticed this and, calling his master, shouted, "What happened?" Later, Marquis Wellesley sincerely wishes the dark-haired man good luck in battle as he prepares to depart. The dark-haired man walks inside the estate, his footsteps echoing through the corridors. Someone wishes him luck, and he briefly nods in response. He walks on, the man's face becoming serious. He feels that he too will have to prepare for the worst, and decisively says that the large central Camilla will be used as part of their backup plan.